It's 9 to noon with John Kuhn.
I hope they don't have to go to John Kuhn either at quarterback, but I'd sure like to see what he's capable of doing.
Bill Schmidt.
I think it's going to be extremely fun.
And Armin Saryan.
Oh, man, I don't know. I hope I can live up to the hype.
Nooners. Hit the guys up on the Pella WI Talk and Text line at 414-799-1973.
Unbelievably fantastic, man. I love to listen to your show.
9 to noon is brought to you by Palermo's. When you want pizza, you want Palermo's. Made right here in Wisconsin for over 55 years. Palermo's, Wisconsin's hometown pizza. Welcome to 9 to noon.
It seems they always come in threes, and yesterday, 3 of the best dynasties and my favorite to watch and my favorite sport all had their leader walk away or be told, hey, man, why don't you just exit stage left with the final one coming this morning. It always happens in threes. It's Pete Carroll, it's Nick Saban, and it's Bill Belichick. All out. John Kuhn, I'm Billy Schmidt. Armin Saryan's right there. You're at 414-799. At the game MKE, you can be on the video stream. And as I had one of my friends say, it's like I get a Zoom call with my guys all day long while I'm sitting at work. He got us up in the office on the TV and hanging out with you for the next 3 hours and your chance to win free meat. John, there's a lot of good things in the world, but free meat and a chance within an hour and a half for folks to win that's a tough thing to beat on a day where we're looking out at snow for the second time in 3 days. Good morning.
They love the meat. They need the meat. They have to have the meat. They will
meat.
submit for the meat.
Need that meat. Listen, it's one of our favorite days is Thursdays.
I needed that.
You needed that here today?
Well, I think
you
I
needed
did.
that after that whooping that we took last night at Fiserv Forum for your Marquette Golden Eagles.
It's terrible,
Catching a
man.
fat L from the Butler Bulldogs.
I couldn't even fall asleep last night after watching that second half. What are you guys doing to me?
You couldn't even talk this morning when we got in.
I told Billy I'm not going to be on Twitter this morning, and he didn't believe me. Now he's right to not believe me, John. But I was really hard to read Twitter, so I'm just trying to have an even keel.
Maybe I won't go. Maybe I won't go to any more Marquette games.
I've
and bring the
noticed you
Shanks.
have been increasingly fight-worthy on Twitter, Armin.
No, see, this is the problem here. You guys take every time I respond on Twitter like it's some anvil of a fight that I'm ready to bow up.
No,
and
but when you
muscle up.
have 7 to 10 in like a 4-hour period, then yes, I start.
Well, I'm just talking sports.
It's the death of 1,000 paper cuts. Battling
Continuous
one battle.
bleed,
I would say, oh, okay, someone tweaked them. But when you get tweaked 10 times, I start thinking,
Well,
that's I start to worry about you, Armin. I start to worry about my friend and what he's going to be like.
Well, and it's difficult to. Sorry, Armin, 1 second, but because it
ahead.
is difficult because I want to get to on John's point here. It's tough when, from our standpoint, we care about you a lot. We care about your health and your well-being.
Appreciate that. I do
and
too.
when we can't follow the 17 different threads over the last 4 days of fights that you've been in, that's difficult for us to then know that you're coming in and that ticker's going to be okay.
Oh, my ticker's fine, I believe.
I know you were on the treadmill over here yesterday, but
I've been busting on that treadmill for Sunburn Bowl.
New year, new you.
A new year, new me, and that's fine. That's all of us. No, I don't look at them as fights on Twitter. I just, someone asks a question or says something, I'm talking
impassioned conversations.
I respond. Now, when they're wrong, I'm going to correct them. I don't feel, is that fighting? Maybe it is. When they're wrong, I'm going to correct them.
You ever wrong?
Oh, absolutely. I've been wrong.
How many mea culpas have you thrown up on the Twitter?
You know what? I think I've actually done my fair amount compared to what some of these other clowns on Twitter do. How many people actually admit when they're wrong? Maybe if you search my tweets with mea culpa, you'd find a couple. I mean,
I will say this.
Yeah.
At least your fighting right now hasn't reached Pat McAfee levels. It seems
They're not
like right
fighting.
now.
Wow.
It seems like now the Pat McAfee show is in disarray. It's almost it's the McAfees out there. We have Nooners. He has McAfees or whatever they call it. What do they call themselves, Billy? The people that listen to the show.
I think McAfee fans. Yeah, McAfees.
McAfee
fans.
I like the
Fans for the-
McAfees.
McAfee
No.
fans,
No.
McAfees. It's a 50-50 split. I mean, his fan base is cannibalizing themselves right now and cannibalizing McAfee because of everything that's going on with Aaron Rodgers, the greatest gift and quite possibly the greatest curse to ever happen to the Pat McAfee show.
You either die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah,
and in year 4 of Aaron Rodgers Tuesday, he's officially, I think, the villain of not only John, everybody else listening, but it seems like Pat McAfee now. He's like, bro,
or
on,
is McAfee the villain? Because a lot of his fan base is cannibalizing him, saying you haven't stood up to everything that you've said for the last 4, 6, 8 years. I started watching you when AJ Hawk wasn't even a staple of the show. He was just a regular guest, and I have been coming to you since this landmark and that landmark, and now all of a sudden, 8 years in, you have chosen to dump Aaron Rodgers and not speak kindly of the segment that he finished the season with? What are you doing?
Yeah, and but I will back Pat on this. Hard to be too glowing about some of the conversations that they've had over the last couple of weeks, where it's like, dude, yeah, I appreciate the sentiment. Not when it's coming directly back at me. However, hey man, like you said, it's a gift and a curse, and it's hit curse level here for Aaron Rodgers going on that show. Yeah,
people love blood,
and that's the thing, John, that nobody really likes to admit.
Vampires.
But that's the secret sauce to that part of it that nobody likes to admit. But there is this element of humanity that they do like to gravitate toward: the conflict, the blood, that type of like
it bleeds and reads. How many times were you taught that at Marquette Journalism School?
And that's the sad reality. But you don't have to always give into it. Pat McAfee built his show on having fun and being entertaining, and not that. So I still believe he will be able to do that if he sticks to that.
Now, I'm going to throw a little Aaron Rodgers conspiracy theory at you. Was this all put in motion intentionally because they believed this was going to happen? ESPN had to have known that Aaron Rodgers was going to get on there and say some provocative things and really flip things upside down. And then Pat would say some things, and now it's got national attention because it's on ESPN. It always had national attention, but even more so now with exclamation points. And then when you say goodbye, and you say goodbye the way you say goodbye, and you don't necessarily want to have these conversations on the air, then you got your fan base eating on each other. Now they got to watch just to see how this dust settles.
Yeah, and you know what? I stand by this firmly. That show was going to peak and always has peaked when an 8-year-old kid told one of the guys on the show to bleep themselves. Like, I mean, like it's awesome. It's hard. It's hard to top that, right?
Believe it or not, I don't listen a lot, but I heard that segment live because he was on Sirius at the time, and I was in the car, and I heard that, and I thought to myself, "Good Lord, this is good."
Yeah,
like that's when that is good stuff. When you get something like that coming in, you're like, whoa, you're an 8-year-old. You can't be saying that type of stuff. That's funny. That's man stuff. That's the crazy stuff that we like to move around about. Pat wants to get into. Is he now in too deep? Is he in too deep?
Well, and is ESPN in too deep, John? Because I think this is one of the fascinating things. We started kind of talking about it right at the end of the show yesterday I think they love having him on game day. I think they love the fact that he fires everybody on up in that location, gets that place going. But can you have one without the other now that you brought all the toothpaste out of the tube? How much can you bring back on in? And can we have that fun stuff on Saturdays, but not do it Monday through Friday? That's a fascinating part of it. And to do it halfway in and out is one thing Nick Saban was not going to do, right? Like it's difficult when you're at kind of the top. Now, the sports media game, a little bit different than college football, but you can kind of say you're right near the top of the game. Hard to say, yeah, I'm going to step back from this one, but still do this one full throttle, right? Like there's kind of only a full way in or full way out mentality, I think, with a lot of individuals.
You know, I thought Nick Saban did it the way any good alpha male does it. He pulls the pin on a grenade, slightly rolls it down the hall before he walks out of the building. And that's what he did when he started talking about NIL. This whole thing is a mess. It's just how much can you pay and who's going to get who and how is this thing going to go? Clearly, he's sending a message to the NCAA. You got to get a grip on this thing. You got to figure out how to manage it, monetize it. Now, let's be honest. This is the scales, and this is how this thing goes until it balances itself out. It was weighted down heavily for the programs and the schools and the coaches. The coaches have a big part in this as well. And then when the players in the NIL deal started, it was the Wild West, and it started pouring. Now the scales have tipped totally in the opposite direction. You got all these different transfer portal exceptions and then money and then everything else, and it's gotten really messy, and coaches haven't figured it out yet. And Nick Saban's like, I'm too old to be messing with figuring this out, which he probably would figure out faster than the rest of the coaches in the college football landscape because that's the way Nick Saban does everything. But I'm too old for this stuff. Quote Danny Glover when he says, "I'm too old for this."
Yeah. And you know what, dude? I love it from Saban's perspective. He ends up ending Kirby Smart's 29-game win streak. They win the SEC in his final year. And you could almost tell certain people that were at the Rose Bowl said like he drove by, and the Urban Meyer pizza box picture that everybody loves to show, right? I think that was after either a national championship game or a Big Ten championship game where he's hunched over the Papa John's pizza. Like this sucks. Life's terrible. This is never going to get better. But he drove by and had like a smile on his face. There was a realization of, you know what? I've done it. I've done just about anything there is right there to do. And now I can walk out. And like John said, I don't have time for all this. So quit asking. I'm not going to continue recruit my kids 360 days out of the 365 in a year and 366 that we'll have in 2024. I'm not interested in doing that, Armin, because I already have the pelts on my wall. It's time for somebody else to do it. College football head coaching, more than ever, is a young man's game for the amount of work that you got to put in. NFL head coaches, John, you can kind of talk to it. You get maybe what, like 3-4 weeks of, all right, now we can kind of sprinkle throughout the year, right? Where you can take a deep breath and kind of calm down. College football coaches get like 4 or 5 days with how long where their portal windows are and their high school recruitment windows are, your contact time. Like it's wearing. And when you're in your 70s, 72 is a whole lot different than 62. And Nick Saban's like, you know what? I appreciate it. I'm going to go do some fun stuff and make money doing TV.
The fascinating thing about watching Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll and Nick Saban all step down or mutually part ways at the same time with these teams is going back and watching their greatest moments. And you see when they're brought in and how young they look when they're brought in. Nick Saban, when he was first at Alabama, when was that? 2007, 2008? When did he first get there?
It might have been earlier than that.
It might have been earlier.
I'm looking up right now.
Well, he was in Miami in the early 2000s before he left. Maybe it was 2005 that he went to Alabama then. Michigan State, yes.
07, you're right, John. 07.
Because he missed out on Breeze in the free agency year, and then they had to have Dante Culpepper. He's like, I'm done with this now.
He won a title at LSU, didn't he? Like, it's kind of crazy to think all that.
Ryan Clark and company.
And if you could go back and see some of these things and how he's aged in 16 years. 16 years is a long time. Let's not sugarcoat this thing. 16 years is a long time.
But it's also not that long ago. And
it doesn't feel it, Armin, but
I know.
You're getting old. 16 years is a decent amount of time. That's, what would you call that, about 15 to 20% of someone's lifespan?
Yes, God willing, I'm sure. Yeah, that would be a good amount, right?
Probably 20, maybe even more than 20%.
Well, let's say you lived let's do some quick math. Yes.
Well, that'd be 74.
Right. So hopefully you can live.
Would be a quarter of your life.
A quarter.
Nick Saban's 72, so hopefully it's less than a quarter of his life. Hopefully he gets into the
enjoy
80s.
a little retirement.
We get to watch him on College Game Day or wherever he's going to go.
Yeah.
He'll probably go to Fox. Yeah. He'll probably go to the Fox pregame show. That's what I would imagine.
It's amazing though to see him though. Like even in those Michigan State pictures when he was at Michigan State, like in the late 90s. With his green starter windbreaker looking like Rich Kotite out there.
Dude, think about when he was with Belichick back in Cleveland when he was his defensive coordinator. Like that's what's so wild. All three of these guys end up within 24 hours of each other in their 70s, moving away from their current team that they've been with for at least a decade, right? 14 years for Pete Carroll in Seattle. And his greatest dynasty, the one I always will remember, one that helped me fall in love with football, was the one at USC. Like, it was some of the most fun I can remember watching football as a kid were those USC teams. And they all have taken over for each other. They've all worked for each other. They're all kind of synced around a couple of the same organizations. When you think of the Browns and the Patriots, the Jets are kind of intertwined in there. Like, there'll always be... You'll always remember all of them together, but Saban and Belichick are the ones that are more tied together. And the two greatest empires over the last decade and a half in football,
I would say
step away at the same time.
I would say you could write them both up there with, you could say Bill Belichick, best coach to ever coach in the NFL.
Yeah.
You can say that.
Yeah.
I would say Nick Saban. People would come out and bring up some different names, but I think you could say for Nick Saban, greatest coach to ever coach in college football.
Yes.
At least on the short list, I think you'd have to put him there. Yeah.
To have these two titans step down within a 24-hour span of each other, it is seismic for the world of football, college and NFL both. Now, has Nick Saban ever had a scandal? I mean, Pete Carroll had a scandal. Bill Belichick had a scandal or scandals. has Nick Saban ever had a scandal? Because I'm about to say the scandal thing and great coaching might go hand in hand.
No, I think he's pretty much clear on stuff. Not that I remember, at least. I mean, there's been, or at least suspected malfeasance for a lot of these coaches, but Nick Saban has steered free and clear of most of that, right? I believe.
For the most part, yeah. I mean, I think there were some people that thought that was one of the reasons why he left to go to the Dolphins, was because LSU was going to be heavily sanctioned throughout. Now, some texter is going to remind us of something that happened, 2012. That's passing my mind. But he doesn't have wins vacated, right? Doesn't have. But what they have done, and John, you kind of touched on a couple of minutes ago when said if anybody is going to be able to evolve in coaching and be able to succeed in this different, ever-changing climate at his age, it would have been Saban. Like, he is the best. I think for the last 20 years, the evolution of the game, he's always been, if not right at the front of it, he sees it and says, yeah, we got to go there, right? Like, finds the trends, quickly can copy, can understand where the game's going, and has never been too stubborn, where I think we've seen a lot of coaches, especially in college, this is what I'm doing. This is how we're going to be about. This is what our program's about. And Saban's always then said, yeah, that's what we have been about. We got to be a little bit different if we're going to keep winning at this pace. Both of these two organizations, too, and I was listening to a lot of the coverage throughout the morning. Like, think about the meat on the bone. Trips to the title game in 16 years.
Insane.
Belichick and the Patriots were in the AFC title game 13 years. And how many different Super Bowls were one play away? Like, the game is always about one or two plays that finish it. But, man, we were a couple of snaps away from these guys setting records that would never be even thought to be touched.
Yeah, and I don't think 6 Super Bowl championships are going to be touched by a coach. Just like I don't think 7 will be touched by a player. And people are saying Patrick Mahomes. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't think so. And, the thing about the evolution of Nick Saban is I think his program has stayed consistent. Get the good players, inspire the good players, break down and build up the good players. But I think his offensive defensive philosophies have molded with the change in the game. He ran a big boy style game when he was at Michigan State.
Yep.
Similarly at LSU. At Alabama is when things started opening up in college football. He had to go away. For a couple years there, he didn't have that quarterback. He was ground and pound. Give me the Heisman running backs, and we're going to do that and good defense. He turned out of that late in his career, went to these quarterbacks that are all now moving to them.
Yeah, I mean, he went from Eddie Lacy
to TJ Yeldon,
to Jalen Hurts and Tua, and these guys going full spread. Right. Like, it's impressive. Right. Which job is harder to take over out of those three? Which is the hardest one to take over? I got an idea of which one it is. I think Nooners might have a different one. I want to hear why coming up here right after the break. We'll discuss a little bit more. We got Match Time, and he'll weigh in coming in at 10 o'clock as well. 414-799-1973. Fairly lengthy intro to the Green Bay Packers that we can run through, but albeit not too terrible. I'll tell you exactly why coming up. It's 9 to noon on the game.
like to be the rainmaker. I wonder what it's like to know that I made the rain.
It's 9 to noon on the game. John Kuhn, Armin Sarian. I'm Billy Schmidt. You can hang out with us on Twitter and X at 9 to noon is where you follow the show. You can also check us out at the game MKE right there. And you can also interact with the program at the talk and text line, 414-799-1973, about an hour away from your chance to win free food from Waseda Farms. How that works is 1 through 10. You put in your submission for what does Billy know. Just heads up. I'm Billy. I'm dumb. So I'm probably going to be somewhere in like the 6 to 3 variety. Now, there is an outlier where I have gotten every single one of them right. I did raise the banner for that one in my basement. So it can happen.
Yeah, you do have the banner up. And I've also gotten, for a while, people were telling me my questions were too easy. So I had to crank it up a little bit. So
and then you outsourced them for a while.
So who's the worst pitcher to ever pitch a no-hitter?
Oh, what
because that's
Dallas
what that
Braden,
sounds.
Maybe
that's what it sounds like. It sounds like Billy had himself a no-hitter. He got all 10, bang, 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 and then the rest of the time he just kind of runs in mediocrity with like a 5.2 ERA. He's kind of like the fourth guy in rotation.
I think it would probably be the Dallas Braden Mother's Day perfect game.
Was a perfect game.
What that was, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think he was out of baseball 2 years later. Now, granted, some shoulder injuries had him, but my boy was also next to that Oakland A's broadcaster who found himself stepping in it this year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, tough moment for that guy.
I just feel like
lost one right there.
That's the point of the game that we play, though. You shouldn't be able to predict what Billy gets because then it'd be too easy to that's part of the randomness of it. You have to pick a number. It's like a silent auction. You can put your ticket in any bowl
It
you
is
want.
the truest silent auction in here.
That's all I'm saying. So, yeah.
You know, Armin, you said 16 years ago doesn't feel like that long ago. Was not that long ago in terms of Nick Saban taking over in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what today marks the 9-year anniversary of?
Oh, man. Armin getting jumped on one again.
2015. So 1/11, 2015. Did I miss another? Was it? It wasn't the coin flip in Arizona, was it?
No, it was the Dez catch. It was the Dez catch, no catch review, big game.
Yeah, no catch.
So 16 years doesn't feel like that long. This is 9. This is 9 years.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's crazy.
The Packers have one player left on that roster. One. David Bakhtiari.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys have 3. Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence. That's 4 players that played in that game. 9 years. 9 years, Armin.
It's amazing. I mean, because to me, see, now I remember where I was.
In sports, 9 is an eternity. 16 is double that almost.
Yeah, but I guess it all depends on your outlook. For me, because I remember it so vividly, it doesn't feel like that long. I mean, obviously a lot has changed since then. You know, so much has changed, but it is a long time though when you look back, because then you start piecing out eras and generations or parts of your life. And then you say, wow, well, that didn't seem like that long ago. I remember when I was the Dez catch.
I mean, Tony Romo was their quarterback versus Aaron Rodgers. DeMarco Murray was the running back. I mean, they've gone through another running. They've gone from DeMarco Murray to Ezekiel Elliott on to Tony Pollard. They've moved 3 times.
Well, running backs, shelf lives. You know, we talked about that.
Yeah, but I mean, think about it, though. He was leading the league in rushing at that point. Like, DeMarco Murray wasn't just any running back at that moment. It's crazy. And maybe that game doesn't get as much credit as it should for how good of a game it was.
Oh, it was amazing
because of what happened next. And it clouds just how impressive that game was. That playoff run also was hilarious because I feel like the Cowboys got a great break against the Lions the week before. Packers got a good break there, and obviously what happened in Seattle. And then
Seattle got a great break with Brandon Bostic, and then the Patriots got a great break with throwing from the 1-yard line.
It's all breaks.
It was how can we lose this game or the refs manipulate the game 4 games in a row massively.
That's the one way I've dealt with that kind of season as well, with my own personal, with my therapy of having to deal with the Bostic thing.
Sure.
That's one way I've dealt with it, is realizing the breaks you lose are the breaks that also come to you. So it can even out after a while. That's why I always thought it was funny when Cowboys fans, and you're out there, Drew and Greenfield, I know, when Cowboys fans start whining and complaining about the Dez catch because they didn't know what the rules are or something like that. Like, yeah, maybe that didn't work out for you, but you know what? The week before, you shouldn't have won anyway. So,
you know what might be the funniest thing out of this whole deal is just for the folks watching on YouTube, you can see this picture from that game in which John Kuhn is scrapping with former Wisconsin Badger Nick Hayden, right? I now coach with Nick Hayden and do a radio show with John Kuhn.
It's hilarious.
And I was sitting there in the sidelines like, how stupid is this life? That's hilarious to watch.
I remember that.
We're in a sim.
I remember that play. That was the first drive of the game. And we went in 20 personnel and ran it right down their throats all the way to the goal line. And as we got closer to the goal line, there was a hit out of bounds. It might have even been on Aaron. TJ went in there and instantly started fighting. And me being Johnny Pro, don't do anything stupid.
CJ goes and spears this guy.
I'm very quickly, he speared him. He went nuts, and I'm just trying to separate everybody. Get out of here.
The floor.
We're about to score a touchdown. Get out of here.
Oh, God, that is awesome. That is so funny.
Can't believe the full game's not on YouTube anywhere. I'm trying to look for it.
Yeah, it should be. No doubt about it.
So I can try and watch it during the break. What do you do?
Yeah, well, maybe. I'll try and get some funny announcer John Kuhn stuff and use it as drops.
Like we might have to have
I always like doing that.
This is a cool one on the talking text line here and talk about how long ago it was. Our buddy LSU Brad on the talk text line. I was able to play for Coach Saban at LSU. His legacy at Alabama is unprecedented. However, what will ultimately get overlooked is the long-lasting impact he had at LSU. He created a culture, and many of the coaches and players have continued on with that culture to make that team competitive every single year. I actually think the reason he was so successful was due to his obsession with details that stayed consistent no matter what changed in the game. That's LSU Brad.
Hold on.
Did LSU Brad play with Matt Flynn?
Hold on,
would have been in that time frame probably.
I think Matt Flynn's first year or two
was their national title game.
Was still with Saban.
All these years, LSU Brad, I thought was just a fan. I had no idea.
Oh, you didn't know he played at LSU?
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
I wasn't. I had no idea. I was unfamiliar with your game. My apologies,
LSU Brad is a ball player.
He played well. We got Brewer Mike and Brewer Bruce and parking lot Pete. Everyone, I think, are just fans.
You think Pete played for the parking lot now?
Well, you get my point. Okay, that doesn't make sense. But, Brewer Mike and everybody, I'm thinking LSU Brad is just LSU
You didn't know Brewer Mike? He threw 4 innings.
Brewer Mike did not play for the Brewers? Now I'm off kilter. I really have no idea.
I'm sure he'll be calling in. The one time I need Brewer Mike to call me about picks this week, I haven't heard from him yet.
We haven't heard from him yet.
That's all right. I'm sure he's hopefully doing well out there.
That drop was epic because not only is it a Shaqism on an LSU guy, it's LSU. Wow, fantastic work, Armin.
No, I did. That's the first thing I thought of. That was Christian Wood, right? Yeah, that he was talking to at the time.
I thought was either that or Donovan Mitchell. Or no, he said Donovan Mitchell wasn't a star. Sorry, I apologize. All messed up here.
The point is, respect to Saban, respect to LSU Brad, who
big respect to LSU Brad.
Were you a scholarship guy or a walk-on?
We're gonna have to know
Brad.
if he played.
It doesn't matter because down at LSU, he was grinding those boys out.
So he probably.
And that was pre-transfer portal, pre-NIL, so you could break them down to build them up.
Oh, yeah, and John knows just what that Louisiana heat is like. Now, maybe it's a little different in Baton Rouge than it is in New Orleans, but that heat is heat when you get down into the South. And that humidity does not stop. You said it just before the break, John, when I asked which job is the hardest one to take over for. Seattle might be difficult, but I think that one's already set in stone. I think they want Dan Quinn. I think they're going to try to figure out how to get Dan Quinn, especially if Pete Carroll's going to stay within the organization as some kind of advisor. I think that's where they're trying to go. New England, absolutely. Bama, you said toughest one to take on over for. Why would you say that?
Because they are still at the top of their game. Nick Saban's walking away at a time when they were in the college football playoff, and they're expected to go into 12 teams to be in the college football playoff again. So there's a high bar already that you have to meet. In New England, you have to show progress, and showing progress from being the worst team in the AFC is not as difficult as maintaining this high standard that they have in Alabama created by Nick Saban. Plus, you know the rules in the NFL. Mm-hmm. The rules are draft, free agency, and win football games. In college, they're still trying to figure out the rules because the rules are so ambiguous. Nick Saban is stepping down, and that makes it a little cloudy. You have a high expectation with cloudy rules. I think that's a tough place to walk into.
Yeah, the high expectations was what I had thought of. I did not think about the ever-changing rules and all that goes into that. The other part of it is, I mean, there's like 3 teams in college football that believe they can beat and are on par with Alabama, right? Like you talk about high expectations, then there's like winning an F1 if you're a Ferrari, right? Like if you are the number one in the sport, you always have been, you have to win at a certain level. And walk by Nick Saban's statue every single time that you walk into the building. I get like you're not at that spot if you're not super highly competitive and confident in yourself, and Dan Lanning, Kalen DeBoer, whoever ends up taking that job, is going to be confident they can do it. But man, that ghost of Saban and walking out at the top of his game, he just ended what was supposed to be the dynasty that finished him. And he said, you know what, Georgia, hold on one last time in Atlanta.
True.
We're going to beat you. And talk to folks down in the South. As much as the national championship, yes, is what you play for. Damn, that SEC championship is 1A, 1B right underneath there to being able to win that league that way and end that 29-game win streak. Like that is Belichick. The last 4 years, I think, have at least dimmed the shining bright that light that will be on you as the successor of Belichick. The success, man, that Saban's continued to have just continues to shine that spotlight even brighter on you when you take over that gig.
And you said it there, Billy, winning that SEC championship game against a Georgia team that was going for a three-peat. That's still a crowning achievement for this season. And going into the college football play, you can't win this year. You couldn't win the college football playoffs from the SEC unless you won the SEC championship. That's just the way that it was. And they did that, and they were representative. And it's another one that if Nick Saban stayed, where would you expect Alabama to be? Right back there in that conversation, if not almost for certain in a 12-team college football playoff. So if he was going to stay, and that's the expectation, the next person that gets thrown in there, you have to hold that standard.
You know what's amazing about Nick Saban to me is, I guess I never really believed in the whole like retire when you're on top or leave while you're on top type of thing. I never believed in that because I always felt like you never know how much you could have done. So I always felt like retire.
How much more meat's on that bone
when your tank's empty, right?
Yep.
I always wonder, would Al McGuire have repeated in 78 if he didn't retire? So my point is this. Nick Saban was that unique guy that would have always been on top, no matter what.
Yeah,
like,
he was when you say fair. When you say exhaust this thing, empty the tank, his tank was always full. He never had to stop by Quick Trip. He was always running. I mean, never a match Schneidman there.
Well, is he seven? How old is he?
72.
72. So maybe if he kept coaching until he was 82, he would have. But it's hard to ever imagine him falling off. Right? It just is.
Yeah. Not everyone wants to do that, right? Like some guys want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Some guys don't. I'm
frankly
some jobs you don't walk away from. I mean, we see, and 72 in coaching world, I mean, that feels old now. Before 72 would be like, well, he's probably got a couple years left. Now it feels like it's at the back end.
God, especially in college. It's just there's so much in it. I will say selfishly though, hated the news yesterday. Hated it. 1 year away from finally getting to see Nick Saban coach a team live. Alabama comes to Camp Randall this upcoming year, 1 season shy of being able to see the greatest college football coach at Camp Randall one time live. That, again, media starts with me. Very selfish of me to think that way. But damn, I wanted to see Saban one time come on up to Wisconsin and coach against the Badgers. John Kuhn just brought something to our attention during the last break that Armin Sarian was just boiling like a teapot, and you could see the steam blazing out of the furry Armenian. We'll explain exactly why before Matt Schneidman. Hopefully he's full of gas when he joins us and not the bad stuff that comes out back when he joins us in 20 minutes on 9 to noon on the game.
Me at 12.
choose the rhyme. Rhyming chose me, so I hit the track running like a nosebleed. Life ain't great now, but it's much improved. Your album dropping this summer, that sucks for you.
9 to noon on the game. Packers and Cowboys 4 days away. John Kuhn will be heading down to AT&T Stadium as the Packers invade Jerry World one more time in the playoffs. Looking for a Packers victory. 7.5-point dogs. That line is held firm. Potentially, if you are one of the individuals that might be using that line for our You Bet or You Bet playoffs, listen, Armin, this is a 24-hour notice.
24-hour notice.
Because you just had
24 hours.
During the break, you just took Brewer Mike's picks.
Yeah, I guess the bat signal went out and he heard it. So thanks, Brewer Mike, for calling.
You don't like doing that. You don't want to take picks over the phone.
No, but if that's the way it's got to be, I'll do it, you know?
Don't put that out there. You're supposed to email your picks to Armin Sarian.
I'm
trying to make your life easier.
I do appreciate
trying to help.
it. I do appreciate
Email Armin Sarian at iHeartMedia.com.
Yep, that's it.
Get that in. You got 24 hours. If you're in the
spelled
playoffs.
exactly the way it sounds.
Yeah,
by the way,
easiest way to put it. You know the name, you know the handle, you know
it's
the
spelled in traditional
Armenian spelling. Yeah,
spelling. Hey, listen.
When you said that the other day, I thought to myself, who knows traditional Armenian spelling?
I know that's sort
very
of
good tip to throw out there to all the Nooners. Born and raised in Wisconsin.
Did you?
Well, they do call Wisconsin the Armenia of America.
Well, and maybe they
We're
took
out there.
Armenian.
Yeah.
Maybe they took Armenian instead of Spanish or German or Latin in high school.
Sure.
There is an Armenia, Wisconsin. You guys know that? It's
I didn't.
An unincorporated township of Armenia.
Have you been there?
No, my dad has. And he wrote a whole article about it once for the Armenian Weekly, an Armenian newspaper.
Holy cow.
No,
We got to get that article.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And we need that article. We're gonna have to read that.
I don't know if it still exists, and I'm sure it's not.
That feels built for April 17th, right?
I know,
right smack
I know.
dab in the middle of when we're trying to figure out what on earth that we can do a live report from Armin in Armenia, Wisconsin.
It's in Juneau County. I'll try and get out there. Yeah,
I think you could. You know what? There's probably a dive bar out there.
You know what? There might be a dive bar out there.
Probably a good dive bar or two on out
Sounds like
there.
a plan.
There isn't. It's like unincorporated or something like that. So it's a township. I don't know what it is.
There's probably 7 bars then.
Yeah. All right,
Unincorporated town, at least 5 bars. That would be a great day spent right there. Now, John Kuhn was filling us in during the last break about his story that crossed his wire that Armin Sarian almost threw up his breakfast with over here. And it's one of his absolute favorites, John Kuhn, and stewing like a teapot with steam flying out of his ears over here.
Well, this comes from one of Armin's favorite publications, and it's tipping point when it comes to gratuity.
I think it's finally about time that we're finding the peak in this tipping culture. Now, I want to make it clear when I talk about this, and I go on my rant like I always do, that I'm not against our great service providers, our great workers getting the tip they deserve, especially for great service. I told you guys the other day, I was out to dinner with Laura, some members of her family, and I was witness to some of the most amazing service from this dude named Ernest that I'll ever experience.
Ernest?
He took all the orders, memorized them. He was also the bar manager. He also was like the host. He was waiting on tables, cleaning. It wasn't a small place either. I really had not seen service like that in a long time. Of course, you got a good tip. And I really am always in favor of tipping that meets the level of service. What I don't appreciate, I think a lot of people would agree these days, is, hey, I'm just going to spin this thing around for you. It's going to ask you a question, like type of thing where there's we're tipping for everything now.
It's funny you say that, Armin, because the first line is paying extra for service has inspired rebellion, swiveling iPads, and irritation from Trotsky. Post-pandemic, the practice has entered a whole new stage.
And my point is, if you are over tipping for everything, it disrespects the real point of tipping, which is to reward
show an
real
appreciation of service
for the real service out there, not just for thanks for picking it up. I'm going to spin this around. It's going to ask you a question. I'm like, you're the cashier, so I don't really understand where that comes from. That's your job. So no offense. All I know is tipping culture has become a new thing. It's an American thing. That's fine. I mean, you go to Europe, there's really no tipping culture. They don't expect it. They're surprised to see it. They cry tears of happiness when you give it to them, which is great. Because and the funny thing about it is I don't mind tipping for service that's provided. All I know is we're service providers like anybody else. People aren't going to like hearing this. I don't think we've seen one tip since we started doing the show from people.
No. Listen,
I'm not asking for tips.
No, we've gotten tips. We've gotten tips there, Mr. GoFundMe. We've gotten plenty of tips. We've had food brought in. We've had cookies brought in.
That's true.
We've had more food brought in.
Thank you, Scooby.
People bring you pickles all the time.
Thank you, Glenn and Greenfield, for your delicious pickles from the garden.
Yeah, just because Nooners barter.
Thank you, Scooby. He
just
brought in
because
all that Popeyes.
That was amazing.
Just because the Nooners barter their tips and don't actually give cash does not mean they're not tipping. They're tipping very handsomely.
Well, yeah, and the best tips, they come from their heartfelt words of praise and appreciation when they come and see us at our events and say, you guys do a lot for us. Thank you. You get us through our day. I'm a truck driver. I'm a roofer. I'm a construction worker. I'm a delivery driver. I'm a mailman. That's the tips we really appreciate. Yeah. And I'm not kidding. We all agree about that. And I'm not asking for anything. I'm not asking. But I'm just saying, if you want it, I think if you're spinning around the iPad I'm just going to ask you a question, and you're staring at me when you and I know the question, and I can't tip. If I put 0%, then I feel like I'm the jerk.
Well, no, that's where the rebellion is coming in this article. It's saying,
right.
No, you got to stop tipping for things that were not previously tipped upon, and then only then will you create an actually weighted part to the tipping process.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I've been on. I'm like, again, it's not about trying to penalize workers who are doing the working class.
Sure,
is the shoulders and the brunt of everything we do in this country, and I get it. It's not about that. It's just at some point the line's got to be drawn. Right?
Have you tipped at a fast food restaurant yet?
Fast food? No, because I'm in the drive-thru usually. Right? I'm in the drive-thru. I don't think. Okay. I think I tipped at Cops. Maybe they have one of the Cops.
I have for like
I usually do
curbside pickup.
Yeah, I'm guilt. I feel my natural arm and guilt. You know me. Mm-hmm. I usually do because of that. But it's like,
see, and now I don't have the problem with being a jerk and pressing the other. Actually, I'm quite okay with being a jerk. Some people have said maybe too okay with being it.
Yeah, I wish I had a little more of that in me.
The problem for me is every single time when I do look at the question, then I think about it to myself of, you know what? Damn, they're gonna know that I just said no.
Exactly.
And then I've watched Waiting too many times, right? Like I've seen the movie Waiting too many times where they bring back the one dish and say she was up. Do it, and then all of a sudden my man's scratching dandruff down into there, and then we got a nice little a prepubescent that finds its way into the mashed potatoes, and all of a sudden there's a little extra gravy in the mashed potatoes. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I'm just not risking any. I'm not risking any of the salt that I thought was going to be on that meal being from the hair or anything. Like I just seen that movie way too many times. And bad things going in my head.
Well, you just
make sure it's bagged up, wrapped up.
I'm gonna listen. You think you're winning this stalemate? No, I will sit here. I'll hold up the whole line. How am I going to tip you?
That's true. Now that being said, I'm going to make it clear, like I always do, because I know what kind of backlash I'm going to get. I always tip 20% restaurants, places who are custom to culture. Tipping. I always 20% of Cuba. To be honest with you, I haven't been there in a while. But I probably would.
Just was there the other day.
And every time I don't believe in it, but every time we go to a dive bar, it's a great tip because they're busting their butt. We all know about the service providers there. It's not about that situation. Okay,
I also have a
yeah.
Another good one.
A lot of places won't even let you do that anymore, John. A lot of places won't let you do that, and they still do it.
Now the pigeonhole. You're gonna have to find a way. What kind of box do you want to stand on?
Well, at least listen. I do tip the tellers, Stefano. I tip the dealers. You got to tip.
Sure.
I'm supporting the people that I believe we've culturally accepted the tip on. I'm talking about going next level. We've got service fees. We've got handling fees now. Come on now.
I tipped one of the dealers yesterday at the roulette table at Potawatomi.
Oh, you won
after I won.
Oh.
And then I didn't win the next three hands. So that tip didn't work. Like I thought, like, all right, sweet, let's keep this winning rolling. And
that's because of the little white ball.
Didn't pay off. Didn't go the 4. It was supposed to be the 4, not the 16 and the 23. 414-799-1973. Match Nyman comes up next. He gives us a full recap of what looks like a chapter book of an injury report. But actually, maybe not too much terrible news for the Packers as they get ready to go down to Big D for playoff round 1. Match Nyman's on 9 to noon right after. Any reason to have Tipsy bring us back on 9 to noon, I am signing up for. You know what I'm saying? I mean, any reason. I couldn't tell you how many drinks I consumed to this song in college. Like far, far, far too many. Shots was always one that was going to mean that we were walking up to the bar. But John, when this one came on, dude, I had to go and get something because this is always one of my favorites. Man,
this
Armin,
is a blast.
Banger. Let's go.
This is a blast from the college past. That's for darn sure. How old were you when this song was blasted? This thing came out when I was in college.
Oh yeah, no, this was definitely a throwback for me. But this was one of my favorites to always throw on.
Well, they would always still play it. Jaquan Tipsy. Talk about it. Hey, you want to talk about how 16 years is a long time, John? This came out in 2004. This is 20 years old. Isn't that crazy? Off the album. Anybody know the album Hood Hop?
Hood Hop.
Yeah, it's a banger with that.
That was right there with me. I almost had that one.
The only person not vibing right now is Matt Schneider.
Yeah, come on, man.
Disappointed in this.
He's, you know what? He's just not feeling it. Not trying to get tipsy on the dance floor right now.
Hold on. I don't think.
Oh, user error. User error.
There you go. Yeah, you're on now. Sorry about that, man.
You're fine. I can explain why. I was just finishing something up while Billy was about to read his Happy Place Hemp ad, and then Happy Place Hemp ad. I added an extra H there at the end. And it has to do with work, but I will lock in after he's done with reading the ad.
What were you typing up?
No. Way more important. What were you typing up? What are we typing up?
I'm not typing up anything. I'm writing down some questions in my notepad for a sit-down interview I have today with a Packers player.
Oh, right.
Who's the player?
Tune into The Athletic tomorrow morning.
No tease. No tease.
Oh, that's the tease.
The tease is I have a story coming after a sit-down with a player. That's your tease.
Offense or defense?
You guys wouldn't be that impressed. You had him on yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, good one.
We didn't have anybody on a Wednesday.
He means well, Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday.
I do appreciate the embargo of the information. Way to keep with it, man. And it's your story. You know,
no doubt about it.
He's embargoing the information. No one has to know yet.
Well, imagine playing poker with this guy. Man, it'd be a grind. No joking at all.
I made like 150 at Oneida over a couple hours on
Let's go.
Playing poker.
How much have you made back from that Washington bet? How much are you back now?
Yeah, we're not going to specify how much I lost on that bet on this program, but
I was just curious if you were making a comeback yet, if you were on the come up.
No, I need to take a little bit of a break after that one.
We're rolling. No, Matt, come on. The game wants you back. The game needs you back. The game needs some more support, and you got to keep battling. I appreciate that.
College basketball is great. Don't trust me.
I hate betting college basketball. I will not bet college basketball.
You gotta operate the easy way.
I made a G today.
I'll be back for the Masters.
Oh, okay. All right. Nice little tease. Okay.
Who's your early favorite for the Masters?
My early favorite for the Masters.
Way too soon to talk about golf while there's still 6 inches of snow on the ground.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I am going to go with Brooks Koepka.
Gotta go live guy. Matt, I knew I liked you.
Well, Brooks is good in these type of tournaments too, the big ones, you know.
Yeah, and I always bet live guys and the Masters, and I will be putting something on my boy Patrick Reed because at one of these times that man is going to cheat his way into a green jacket again. He's going to do it. He's going to find his way.
He already won a green jacket. What do you mean cheat his way into one?
Going to find his way into another one. Listen, because the first one was 1,000% above board, totally.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Kind of. Yeah, kind of.
I don't know how you guys bet golf. It's like, isn't that like throwing a dart and saying, I'm going to bet that you're going to hit one?
Armin, I play roulette. There's better odds in playing roulette than there is in betting on a golf.
Horse racing, roulette.
Yeah, all in the same vein.
Yeah.
Matt, it's a chapter book of an injury report yesterday, but I kind of teased it as like, as lengthy as it is, I feel like it could be much worse with only one did not participate yesterday being A.J. Dillon. Am I kind of flawed in that logic? What did you take from the marathon list?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a list like that for the entire second half of the season, pretty much. It's week 19, essentially. You're going to get a list that's that long, especially with the Packers who have been banged up all year. But like you said, if you really look into it, it's not that bad. A.J. Dillon was the only one not to participate in whatever they did yesterday. During the time we were allowed to view practice, they were wearing sneakers. I believe they only worked indoors for less than an hour, so it was more of a mental day. They called it a walkthrough. So how telling really is that report anyway? I'm not sure. We'll get a better indication from today's report. The most notable thing that came out of Lambeau yesterday in terms of injury news is Christian Watson talked and said that last Sunday he was around 75% with his hamstring. He said he needs to be at 90% to play. He knows he's not going to be at 100%, he said, but if he can get up to 90%, he thinks he can help the team more than he can hurt it. So can he improve 15% in a week's time? We will see.
Are the Packers surprised with the severity of this hamstring? I remember when it first came out, you reported that Matt LaFleur said it was not as bad as the first one.
Christian Watson said that himself.
Okay.
I'm sure they're surprised because it has extended past the, IR time, if you will. He's missed Giants, Bucks, he's missed 5 games now. So anytime a guy is out for more than 4 games and you don't put him on IR at any time during that stretch, much like with Jair Alexander earlier this year, there has to be some level of surprise. So this would be the 6th game in a row that Christian Watson misses if he does not play on Sunday. So I'm sure there is a little bit of surprise. And yeah, Watson said at the beginning of this injury that he suffered when he tried going down in bounds against the Chiefs to keep the clock running in the 4th quarter, that he didn't think it was as severe as the one he sustained early in the season. Now, that one, he only missed 3 games, but it happened during the preseason. So it was more like 5 weeks. This one is now past 5 weeks. So will he play on Sunday? We will see.
That's 2 kind of difficult miscalculations, I think, is the way that Matt LaFleur called it, right? With the Jair situation.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are rehabbing from injuries, right? It's not anyone's fault per se, but would you look at that more as training staff, or is that, coaching miscalculation? GM controls the roster, decide if you go on IR. I mean, I imagine it's a lot of all 3, Matt, but where would you pen that to? Because obviously the Packers training staff has always been rather careful.
Yeah, I think it's the human body more so than anything.
Sure.
In the instance of severe injuries, like Luke Musgrave's lacerated kidney, you're putting him on IR. With maybe a more reserved type of player, like Emmanuel Wilson with his shoulder injury, you put him on IR. With guys like Jair Alexander and Christian Watson, if it's not like an ACL or a torn pec or something where it's cut and dry, you're out for a long time, I think the feeling is to not put them on IR, hope that it's only 3 games, hope that, they make good progress in their injury, and you get a guy that's very important to your team back in enough time. Early in the season, they didn't put Christian Watson on IR, and he missed 3 games. They didn't put Devondre Campbell on IR. He missed 3 games. They didn't put Aaron Jones on IR. After this sprained MCL, he missed 3 games. So I think with starters, it might be different, whereas other guys, you can kind of stash them away and use their roster spot on someone else. But I think it's more so the human body, and it might be a little bit of a miscalculation by the training staff too.
All right, Matt, within a 24-hour span, we had Pete Carroll, Nick Saban, and Bill Belichick all in some capacity stepping down, retiring, walking away, mutual separations, all of that, all of the above. What sticks out to you out of the 3?
I think Belichick was kind of expected, at least from what we had been hearing, reports wise. Saban isn't kind of in my purview, if that's the right word, since I obviously don't cover college football. I would say Pete Carroll was the most surprising. And it didn't seem like it was a mutual parting of ways, because Pete said in his press conference yesterday that he really wanted to come back and tried to convince the Seahawks to have him back, but they ultimately decided it was best for both sides to move on. So he was essentially fired or told to leave. That one was interesting because the last 2 years they've made the playoffs with Geno Smith and barely missed the playoffs with Geno Smith. And they were supposed to be a big-time rebuilder post-Russell Wilson era. So that one was probably most surprising. Obviously, your mind goes to who's going to fill these jobs. These are some high-profile jobs open. Alabama. It looks like based on these internet sleuths that it might be Dan Lanning from Oregon.
They tracking flights again?
Tracking them from Eugene.
I don't know how reliable those tracking flights are, but Patriots is going to be Mike Vrabel. Seahawks, could it be Dan Quinn? And I've seen some people out there. Apparently, Schefter is saying that there's a mystery team for Bill Belichick, and people are theorizing that that team could still be in the playoffs. The Packers could indirectly cause Bill Belichick to maybe be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys if they win.
Wow, interesting. There you go.
I believe that's exactly what Jerry Jones wants. He wants the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl or Bill Belichick to be their coach in 2020.
McCarthy to Seattle, then? Is that what we're doing after that?
Or it could be the Pittsburgh Steelers, because Jay Glazer reported that Mike Tomlin is considering stepping away.
Has thought about stepping down, yeah.
Wow. These are like the massive names in coaching. It'd be quite a turnover this offseason.
I went through the teams in the playoffs and pinpointed the Steelers and the Cowboys as teams that could potentially be moving on. I don't know, Sean McVay, because didn't he flirt with the idea of going to the broadcast booth a couple years ago? Mm-hmm. You never really know, but the Cowboys and the Steelers seem like the ones. It reminds me of when I covered the Raiders in 2017 and 2018, and Mark Davis fired Jack Del Rio before he got to the podium for the 2017 season finale when they lost to the Chargers. And Jack Del Rio said, Mark Davis just relieved me of my duties in the locker room. And it was because the second he got the yes from John Gruden that he would come back, it was his guy. I wonder if the second Jerry Jones gets a yes from Bill Belichick, Mike McCarthy's gone. It would be unfair, but it might happen.
And of course, there's been a lot of speculation in general that teams are waiting on Harbaugh as well, right? I mean, so there's a lot of layers to this. It's the coaching carousel. It's always fun, but it's always like, but it seems like this is, I can't remember a year where this many tenured legendary
We're now at
names.
8, though. We're now at 8 coaches.
Yeah,
Matt.
25%.
8 coaches. I mean, what did you see 8 going into the offseason? How many more do you think are potentially out there? You talk about the Cowboys. I think the Rams. Don't sleep on the Rams. Sean McVay heavily considered this year to be a year where he would step down. In fact, allowed his assistant coaches to pursue jobs elsewhere based on the fact that he thought, even if I stay, I might only stay 1 year.
Yeah, you wonder if kind of the way the Rams have performed this year has rejuvenated him. I guess we really don't know until it ends, but I'm sure there are 1 or 2 more in the holster. And it's like Armin said, this has the potential to be the most fascinating. Well, it doesn't have the potential. It is the most fascinating coaching carousel we've had in years because of the names that are available. Mike Vrabel is going to get a head coaching job. Bill Belichick's on the market. Like, those are 2 of the best coaches in the NFL, and they're not being brought back by their franchises. So there are going to be some fascinating names up for grabs. We will see who fills them. And it's interesting. I saw something on Twitter, like Matt LaFleur is in the top 5 of longest tenured head coaches in the NFL.
It happens quick, doesn't it? It flips around really, really quick.
Well, it is funny how like some people say, well, long gone are the days where all the old guys run around the NFL sidelines forever. Like, but really the best one, but it is a young man's game, but the best ones are the guys, the oldest guys that aren't wanting to leave. Like Pete Carroll's over 70, and we talk about Belichick, and we talk about all these other guys. Even Andy Reid's 65, I think. It's just so that part of it is interesting as well. As much as it's a young man's game, it's the old dogs that are staying around and not retiring.
You mentioned the Pete Carroll deal, and I picked up the same thing, Matt. That it seemed more of a force out than anything.
Right?
You think he wants to coach again? It kind of seemed like he could at some point.
It seemed like to me he wants to. He always seemed like that. Yeah.
I saw some tweets during the presser saying it certainly seems like he does, but he kind of deflected on that. He said, now's not the time for that. I'll go into my advisor role. We still don't know what that entails, but it'll be interesting to see if he kind of gets that itch to come back again.
The Dallas Cowboys, you mentioned it, Matt. There's obviously a lot of conversation always around what their coaching's at, what their owner is going to do. What their offense is going to do is try to stress the Packers and push the ball vertically down the field. We focused a lot on CeeDee Lamb. You think we're giving maybe a little, not enough, I should say, credence and thought to the Brandon Cooks, the rest of that passing game that Dak Prescott has made pretty successful throughout the year? Or maybe is the running game the one that we could be passing by? Because they haven't ran the ball great through the season, but Tony Pollard is pretty solid back there as well.
Oh, without a doubt. And I'm going to bring up a stat from John Machota, who covers the Cowboys for us at The Athletic, that relates to the question you just posed. The Cowboys are 11-0 this season when Brandon Cooks has at least 20 receiving yards, and they're 0-5 when he doesn't. All 5 of those losses in which Cooks were limited were all on the road. They get Brandon Cooks going at home. He's been one of the more underrated receivers in the league over the past decade, and he's a problem. He can cause some problems, and the Packers are going to have a plan, and that's why I wonder, even though CeeDee Lamb is the clear-cut number one, do the Packers not shadow him with Jair Alexander because they think there are worthwhile enough weapons elsewhere in that receiver core?
The Cowboys have not lost at home yet this year, right?
Correct. They have won their last 16 games at home. In
16.
fact.
So aren't they due for a loss? Or is that just wishful thinking?
You could say that.
They're due, baby. Come on.
It's
gonna have. I think we're at that. Billy joked about how we're gonna get to a point this week where we're fully in the camp of starting to believe we're gonna win.
1,000% convinced myself that they're gonna win the game.
I'm in that phase now. I'm starting to see reasons why I'm like, well, they, the Cowboys turtle, and there's a lot of time. They have the pressure to win, and the Packers are on a heater. So I'm just.
I try to look at the rosters with a
emotional,
with a lens that is fair,
objective,
and I start saying, okay, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, who do you give the edge to there?
I think it's close. It's closer than it's been.
I think it's damn near a tie, and if you have to give an edge, you have to give it to Dak because he's been in this game before.
Yep.
Okay, you go running back, probably Packers. You go offensive line, probably Cowboys.
Yeah, they got 2 All-Pros on
You go wide receivers, it's really close, but these wide receivers for the Cowboys have, again, been there. They've done it for a long period of time.
They have stars.
Even though I love our young wide receivers, I'd probably go Cowboys. Tight ends is a little bit of a toss-up there. I don't know which way you would probably go. Probably Packers, maybe Packers. Right?
Jake Ferguson,
maybe Packers. Good, Ferguson's been a piece, but I think it's more of what opens up because of the other guys. Yeah.
And then you look at defensively. Do you pick anybody on the Packers defense over somebody? Maybe at the inside linebacker position.
Maybe Quay.
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe.
Anybody, Matt? Anybody on the Packers defense? That's where this, that's where the level here. That's why it's a 7.5 point spread.
Yeah, you're right. But John, you were on a team that snuck into the playoffs as the final seed and went all the way. So it's possible.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about.
Different situation.
I'm talking about Matt.
Aaron Rodgers versus Michael Vick, Matt Ryan, and Jay Cutler. I'm pretty sure I'm picking Aaron Rodgers in every single one of those. And
brother, I would take Dak very, 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 very slightly over Jordan Love right now.
Very slightly.
Very slightly.
And not because of what he's done this year, simply because he's been there and he's at home and he's done this before.
But I think anytime, as I've said, you have a quarterback playing like Jordan Love is, you have a shot. Like if they had, with all due respect to, a Mason Rudolph or, who else is kind of a middling quarterback right now in the playoffs? I don't know, but a Mason Rudolph type. You have to have so much else go right around him to win a game because he's not capable of taking over a game himself. The way Jordan Love has played the second half of the season, he is capable of keeping up in a shootout, and then all you need is one ball to bounce your way.
I also feel like the margins are small in this league too.
But I bring it up because Armin brought up the fact that many of us have convinced ourselves by the end of this week that the Cowboys are going to lose this thing somehow dramatically, and the Packers are going to come out the victor. I'm just simply saying, you said it yourself. The Packers can win. Not that you expect the Packers to win, right?
Here's what I think is going to be key for the Packers. The Cowboys are going to get their yards. Packers rank 17th in the league in yards allowed per game, but they rank 5th in the NFL in red zone defensive success percentage. So like they did against the Chiefs, they forced Harrison Butker into 2 34-yard field goals.
Keep him out of the end zone. Yeah.
That 6 points is way different than 14 points. Chiefs got in the red zone. Packers held firm. The best thing for the Packers, because the Cowboys, like I said, are going to move the ball, is if Brandon Aubrey's kicks are for 3 points instead of 1. If they get 2 out of the 3 Cowboys' first drives, or a couple drives in the first half where the Cowboys really move the ball, then we see that bend but don't break defense to force field goals, Packers are going to have a shot.
I know you're a storyline guy, Matt. You love the story. You love what you end up being able to write about. How great would the story end up being if the rookie kicker that has missed 1 kick all year long misses the final kick and it ends the Dallas Cowboys season? I mean, just like before he missed the one in Washington, that was the first one, and I believe it was blocked.
Yeah.
He hasn't gotten one past the line of scrimmage that hasn't gone through the uprights. I mean, that is chef's kiss. These script writers are cooking, Matt. They're giving you some good stuff.
Well,
let's hope it keeps going.
I think there would be better storylines than ones that end with a kicker, but I think for the Packers, I think the better storyline would be Anders Carlson, like his predecessor, who some people still want back after his rookie struggles, makes a 52-yarder at the buzzer to win the game.
I don't care if we win 2-0. I want the win.
We need to get this guy writing for the NFL. We need this guy writing for the NFL. That's what we need.
Next step in your career, Matt, is the script writer for the NFL. Yeah.
Probably got to get big time. You kidding me? I mean, you saw those commercials. They're cooking that thing up. There's like 7 or 8, 10 people in there, and you get to hang out with Kirk Cousins shirtless. That sounds like a good time. Matt, probably not nearly as much fun as this is each and every day. I can just tell it on your face how much fun you have each and every day.
He loves the bump music.
Hanging out with us here.
We appreciate it. Sean Paul for you here. Is that good? Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. I technically hung out with Kirk Cousins shirtless 2 weeks ago, so I've already done that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, cross that one off the bucket list. Well, you get to hang out with us in West Bend. I know that's been on your bucket list. You've already crossed that one off here, but tonight at 6, we'll hang out with you on the Football Feast. We'll talk to you then.
Thanks, guys. And also, because I'm a committed beat writer, I moved my flight up from Saturday morning to Friday morning to Dallas to avoid the snowstorm.
Let's hear it.
What a commitment, man. Wow, what a grinder.
So we're not going to talk to you tomorrow is what I heard?
My flight is at 11:47 a.m., so I will be on tomorrow.
Oh,
Let's go.
Right there from Gate B at Austin-Straubel Airport. Man, fantastic.
This guy is dedicated. Matt, we'll talk to you then. Safe travel. We'll talk to you tonight at 6. That's Matt Schneidman of The Athletic. He's always brought to you by Happy Place Hemp and happyplacehemp.com. Get 25% off using promo code RELAX. The best hemp products made locally and legally right here in the state of Wisconsin. Rob and Chris have it going on. From their Delta 8, Delta 9 recreational gummies to their CBD gummies, full spectrum CBD can be a daily dosage that can replace Advil for you for the aches and pains that continue daily to hurt you and hamper you. Happy Place Hemp, go find out how they can help you out, and you can save some money using promo code RELAX, RELAX. Great products at happyplacehemp.com. 9 to noon is back after this with What Does Billy Know? Your chance to win free meat. What else is better than that? Who's got it better than you? Nobody. Next on the game.
John Kuhn here for Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, and we got snow on Tuesday. We got snow last night, and we got a whole bunch of snow coming in the next 48 hours. And what's better than hunkering down in your house and staying toasty warm when the weather outside is frightful? Well, I got great news for you. When the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. By replacing drafty windows and doors, you can dramatically lower your energy costs while staying nice and warm inside. Pella Windows and Doors offer some of the most energy-efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep that cold outside right where it belongs. And you can kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest for 36 months. You heard that right. No interest for 36 months if you book by January 31st. Pella's got premium wood windows and patio doors that feature distinguished craftsmanship with nearly endless possibilities. Think about this: maximum design flexibility in dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and a whole lot more. You can even choose between traditional or contemporary and start enjoying a warmer home with lower energy bills today. But you have to hurry. To get 0% interest for 36 months, you have to book by the 31st. So visit PellaWI.com. Tell them John Kuhn sent you. Certain restrictions apply. Welcome back to 9 to Noon, and now it is time for everybody's favorite chance to win some meat from Wasita Farms. And Wasita raises the finest certified organic, grass-fed, black Angus beef, heritage Berkshire pork, eggs, and more. Best part, they're humanely raised and ship it right to your front door. So go to wasitafarms.com. That's WASEDA farms.com to buy meat packages, meat subscription boxes, even those dog treats right there on the site. So go check them out, wasitafarms.com. And you win that meat by playing What Does Billy Know? The talk and text line is locked, and we will find out who has picked the right. A lot of numbers on there. There you go. Billy, Armin did extra credit last night.
Let's hear it for myself. Come on.
Armin gets some extra credit last night. He gets bumped up from a satisfactory today to a plus.
I need that silver star. Is that the Bob McGinn scale?
Armin.
Here we go.
Armin feverishly worked to put some adequate scores together and got the questions in line. Did he fit the bill? Yes. Was he great? Hardly. They could upgrade in 2 seconds.
Converts all first downs. Plays with great extreme effort.
C-.
Leads the unit. C+, C-. Great job.
Let's go back to that one moment, because I was trying to think about how Bob McGinn would write one for you. And if Bob McGinn,
what are you saying, John? You keep those in your mind?
Is that just popped up? Everybody
you gotta have screenshots.
To me. Everybody wants to send it to me. Receipts. We call them receipts, Armin.
Hey, Bob graded tough.
It's remarkable to see a team win 4 playoff games with John Kuhn playing extensively on third down. That's we won a damn Super Bowl, right?
That's the best line.
It's astonishing they won the Super Bowl with him on the team. It's basically, it's astonishing we can give away meat in this segment with Armin.
This guy playing and we won.
Remarkably,
no sense.
This team won in spite of this player. Great effort, extreme effort, converts first downs.
It's amazing.
But
9
sucks.
to Noon is a top sports radio show in Milwaukee with Armin Sarin as the producer. I mean, we just got to say it.
And the boss wants that.
He's a grinder.
Not
He's
here.
the MVP,
Yeah.
but they could do better without him.
So
I had a boss once be like, one of the great producers we've had, 3 out of 5. It's like, all right, thanks.
There you go. Appreciate it, man.
All right, here we go, Billy. I'm going to let you choose. I'm not going to tell you the topic. I'm going to let you choose door 1 or door 2.
I'm going to go door number 2, please. To me, it feels like the Showcase Showdown and Price is Right. Yep. You always take the second one. You pass the first. You pass the first as some kind of trip to Charleston. I'm getting an RV, 4-wheeler, and a Volkswagen white trash starter kit. Give me door number 2.
Okay, now I'm going to really mix you up and say, are you sure now? I will give you an opportunity to switch from door number 2 to back to door number 1 or door number 3.
What are you saying, John? Why don't you just pick the one you want to read?
No, I'm just giving Billy the opportunity.
No, I'm going door number 2.
Okay, door number 2 is what does Billy know about Dallas? The Packers played down in Dallas Stadium.
Not a whole hell of a lot, but
yeah, okay. Well, we're going to find out, and we'll start with question number 1. Dallas is the home of SMU, Southern Methodist University, who garnered national acclaim in the early 80s with its Pony Express backfield. Name the 2 NFL running backs that made up the Pony Express.
Eric Dickerson.
That's 1.
And Craig James.
That is correct. Well done, Billy. Good start.
Reason why I remember Craig James is more of his son with the Mike Leach situation. Then all of a sudden, Craig James no longer on ESPN. Shockingly,
that's true. He was
Pony Express. Pony Express, one of the better 30 for 30s.
Yes, no doubt
that
about
thing
it.
Was spectacular.
Really good. And I thought it was good because a lot of the characters on there were entertaining, and they shot it in a unique style. Enough of my film review, but it was. Really funny.
I also loved the 80s style jeans that everybody wore in Texas at the time. It was fascinating, and I thought to myself, these guys still wore those damn jeans in Texas. It was hot down there. They wore those skin tight things. And
Eric Dickerson's pretty funny when he talks about when he's funny in interviews. Eric Dickerson's good. The trans A&M, that's what Texas A&M gave him.
Plus
an A&M,
the rec specs at Dickerson.
Oh yeah,
elite,
great player.
Almost what Butchie wore, right? Didn't Butch wear specs? Should have wore specs.
No, I don't think he did, but maybe that was the problem.
That was the problem. He was actually shooting for nothing but net, but because he didn't have rec specs on, he had to bank it in. There you go.
I always told Butch, I was like, at 1 year, I thought your 3-point percentage was going to match your free throw percentage, which is a compliment, actually.
Or is it? Okay, question number 2.
C+.
Posty Fest is an Arlington, Texas music festival put on by what local rapper?
Wow. Hold on. Can you give that to me again here quickly?
Posty Fest is an Arlington, Texas music
Post Malone.
festival.
There you go. I knew you'd get it once
Yeah.
you said it like that.
Yep.
I actually don't know how it's pronounced. I'm assuming it's Posty Fest, but you going to Posty Fest at all?
I would, dude. I'm a big Post Malone
I know
fan.
you like
So
Post
am I.
Malone.
All right, question number 3. Billy's 2 for 2. Here we go. He's on a run again. He's about to pitch another no-hitter.
Come on now.
Fantastic.
As long as we stay away from Dallas, the TV show, I should be okay.
This middling journeyman pitcher somehow found a way to get 2 no-hitters to his What Does Billy Know name. I give him a C+.
Somebody
All right. Question number 3.
Yeah.
Thanks for the compliment while slapping me with both hands. Question number 3.
That's what you get on golongtd.com. That's why I'm not a subscriber.
You know, everyone's got their different grading scales. Take what you get.
Who are you keeping up for? Sorry, go ahead.
Everybody but us, Billy. Question number 3. The annual showdown between the University of Texas and the University of Oklahoma at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas is named after what river?
Oh, the Red River.
Yes.
It used to be the Red River Shootout. Can't say that anymore. Now it's the Red River Rivalry.
Which I actually like better because the R's flow together.
Yeah, I could take it or leave it.
Well, that's fine. What if it's a running game? It's not a shootout then, you know?
Tell me the next time that game breaks out with 40 plus carries on both sides, and then we can call it that. Yeah.
Exactly. Question number 4.
Well,
This is the all-time leading scorer in Dallas Cowboys history.
I don't know that they've had like an elite kicker for a long time. So that's why I feel like it might almost feel like it'd be one of the Anderson brothers for some reason. Let's go with completely off that train of thought. Go Emmitt Smith.
Bam, you almost talked yourself out of it. Yeah. You talked yourself right back into it. Congratulations.
Were these too easy? 4 for 4 here. Were these too easy? Or maybe you're just smart.
We'll judge at the end, Armin.
Could be.
We've seen massive slides and things in this.
I could Eagles this thing, start up 10-1, and all of a sudden slide right down the dinosaur.
You could, yeah.
Question number 5 for What Does Billy Know? This was the old name and location of the Dallas Stars before they moved to Texas. That's the hockey team.
Wasn't it the Minneapolis North Stars or the Minnesota North Stars? Weren't they in Minnesota?
Yes, it was.
Minnesota North Stars.
North Stars. There we go.
Broke the heart of all Minnesotans when they left. I mean, that is hockey.
State of hockey, no doubt about it.
No, they got
one
back.
They
got the Wild. But is it the same? I mean, is the second Browns the same? The Houston Texans the same as the Oilers?
The second Browns will feel even better for Cleveland if they go in and beat Houston this week and then go to Baltimore and then beat Art Modell's old Cleveland Browns in the playoffs. They would be very happy about that.
Script writers at work.
Dude, cooking.
All right, 5 out of 5.
Question number 6. How many national flags have claimed the area of Dallas in its history? National flags have claimed the area of Dallas in its history.
A little history here for you. I would not have gotten this one, by the way.
What?
I was so amazed by this.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to say anything else.
You got a chance because it's a number. So how many national flags, how many different national flags have claimed the area at one point in time, hung their flag and said, this is our area, Dallas?
Well, didn't Texas try to secede from America at one point? So there was probably a bunch. I'm going to go with 4.
Good guess, though.
Yeah, it was 6.
6, okay, yeah.
There was a tough question out of Armin. Spain, France, Mexico, the Republic of Texas, the Confederacy, and the U.S. have all claimed the
Republic
land
of Texas, because they wanted to be their own country. Then let them be.
That's wild, man. That's wild.
History's fun, dude.
Texas is
really
different.
Is.
I did it. I'll tell you, I did a thing for Dallas radio this morning. Ooh, baby.
A little different style, huh?
Dallas radio, they take their time when they ask their questions.
A little slower.
And you know me,
I have Jerry pacing.
I'm all amped up. I'm over here. I'm bouncing off the walls. I'm trying to answer.
So, John Kuhn, let me ask you. As you've come down,
I've been there
down to Dallas a couple of times. Now down in Dallas, a little different.
Yeah, okay, I've been there. Barbecue too. Yeah.
When
that
you
horse,
watch,
he's tougher than a bus ride to Plano.
Okay, yeah, but what's the question? You want me to talk about Mike? I'll talk about Mike. I mean, that's the way it went. Sort of. I was a mile a minute, and they were pacing me out. I felt like we were at a struggle, right? We were at an impasse, and
The
we had to pick which way this was going.
Immovable
I'm
object.
going fast. You guys are going slow. Challenge me if you like. I'm doing this. You're force feeding.
Can we wake up a little bit, fellas? Come on, now we're all in the Central Time Zone.
That
I
running
love that.
back that will strike you faster than a rattler in El Paso. How's that?
Question number 7. On November 22nd, 1963, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in what location in Dallas?
No more history for you there.
Oh, the square. There's a name to the square, isn't there?
Yes.
Damn, I don't even know.
Armin's hitting you with
Shot
history.
from the grassy knoll.
Everything about the sports you got right.
Took a whole class on this, by the way.
First history question you got wrong. This is second history.
For some reason, I keep thinking like Thompson Square, but that's not right.
That's a band.
Yeah. Oh, really?
That's a country band.
It sure
Wow.
is.
Okay.
Mhm.
You gonna kiss me or not? That's the song.
Damn.
I need an answer.
I have
If you
no
say
idea.
Little
Something
Big Town,
Square.
that's not it either. It's the Dealey Plaza.
Dealey Plaza.
Daily Plaza, not the square. Why'd you shake your head like the square was right? Sure.
I didn't do
Yeah,
that.
I got that one wrong. That's an L by me. I
5 out of
apologize.
7.
That's a
5 out of
huge
7.
miss by me.
Armin's giving
Should
us
have had that.
information down there with shakes and
Yeah.
nods.
Scott
Question
Carter
number
would be very disappointed in me. My old high school golf coach. Rest in peace, coach.
8. On the night of the 2018 NBA draft, the Dallas Mavericks drafted this player in the first round, then promptly traded him for the rights to Luka Doncic.
Trey Young.
Trae Young is correct. Good memory.
Stick with sports. Billy's got an A+ in sports.
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? 6
That's why
out
my
of 8.
ACT score was so bad. There was no sports questions.
Question number 9.
Would've been great.
Who was the second leading
Ace that one.
scorer on the 2010 and 11 NBA champion Dallas Mavericks? The second leading scorer behind Dirk Nowitzki.
I kind of want to say Jason Kidd, but I feel like that's going to be wrong. Man, can't even remember if he was on that team. I'm going to go Sean Marion.
Good guess.
Jason Terry.
Yeah. By
Jet. Good
by like
one.
0.8.
Yes.
And like Karan Butler. Like, this is a really interesting team. So looking back, I had
That
many
was a
questions.
strange team.
Yeah.
They didn't necessarily jump off the page at you. Sean Marion was probably gone by that time, wasn't he?
I thought
He was
on that
earlier
team.
2000s.
I thought he
Tyson
was
Chandler
gone.
was on that team.
You went from an A+ in sports to an A. Still solid score right now.
Last
what is it?
question.
6 out of 9.
Yep.
Question number 10. When measured by scheduled passengers carried, revenue passenger mile, and fleet size, this is the largest airline in the world, and its worldwide hub is in Dallas.
I think it's actually one of Armin's favorites. Is it American Airlines?
It's American
Sure is.
Airlines. Yes.
I'm transferred to
It
DFW
sure
a few
is.
times over there on American Airlines. I like that style.
Yeah, part of the reason it's the biggest airline in the world is everyone has credit because it's how many times it's missed their flight. So you get the credit and you have to keep using them because they keep missing flights and you keep getting voucher credits. That's
We will
okay.
give-
7 out of
we-
10.
We will give credit, and we will give away a $50 gift certificate to Wasita Farms for somebody who had 7. We'll scour this thing. We'll find a bunch of you because I know a bunch of you have it, and then we'll pick one. Armin will pick one to give away that gift card, and we'll do that next when we return. 999.
How long I've loved you. What we yesterday? Every
hanging out with you on 9 to noon. We'll get into some You Better You Bet conversation. And could the NFL send Green Bay abroad one more time? I'll fill you in on just how that could happen coming up in about 10 minutes from right now. It's 9 to noon with John Kuhn, Billy Schmidt, and Armin Sari. And we just played What Does Billy Know? And it's time to give away a $50 gift card to Wasita Farms and some free meat to one of our nooners.
All right. Yes, indeed. We had 7 was the correct guessing number. Billy had 7. I got all my 7s here in a cup, so you guys can see there's no malfeasance here.
Good work. Yes, we appreciate that.
I got Mike from Port Washington. Congratulations, Mike from Port Washington. Just text back in your full name, email address, and we should be good to go.
Let's
Congratulations.
go. Congratulations. Get yourself some free food from Wasita Farms, some cash, and listen, more importantly, some free meat. What is better than that? I'll tell you what is pretty good. Bucks Celtics here tonight coming up, TNT. One of my favorite things right now, Bucks Twitter is a dangerous place to be in. It's night of games. Listen, I mean, you lose.
Tell Armin that again. Because he stays on it.
See, you lose 4 or 5, it's going to be tough, right? We understand so. There is a misconception, though, I think that the Bucks are just horrendous right now. 25-2 or 25-12. They're the second seed right behind the Boston Celtics, who they'll see here tonight at Fiserv Forum. They get Damian Lillard back from some personal reasons on an absence. That's going to be a welcomed, but more than anything, the most welcomed addition will be some defense, which will be a much needed part of their game here tonight. And I'll be honest, guys, hand raised in air. I got my Bucks sweatshirt on right now. And I hate this because I love the Milwaukee Bucks and they did a lot for me in high school. They put a lot of money in my pocket when I worked there as a high schooler, right? Dude, I love the NBA and I struggle to watch before football season is over, right? Like I struggle so hard to know anything and everything going on in the NBA before football season is over. Bucks are coming. Bucks season is coming. Let's go get one tonight here on TNT and then get to listen to Charles and everybody, in and out of the game.
This does feel like a moment.
It's a Thursday night, right? These last few Thursdays, it's been nothing but football. So now we have a reason to actually start, satiating our palate for basketball again. I think kind of what it is too, Billy. It's not just that football is going on. It's that it's
so long.
It's a sloppy product early on, and it really is. I told you I went down there to a game, and they played great in the first quarter. They played great in the fourth quarter. In the second and third quarter, both teams just kind of, just bounced the ball up and down the court. It was clunky. But now with Giannis and the emotion that we heard after last game, you would anticipate, a little bit of urgency here because we don't want this slide to continue throughout the rest of the season. I'm a little nervous about this game because there have been some things said by Giannis after these last few games. If this thing doesn't turn out right, if that defense doesn't come, and the defense isn't coming around because Dame's coming back. Let's be honest there. Some scoring hopefully, but not defense. So if it doesn't turn around, you got to wonder, right? How far is Giannis going to take this? What kind of rubber meets the road situation are we going to get to?
Well, it does feel like that sort of seminal moment tonight in a lot of ways. Yes, it's early, all that stuff, but the Bucks have had a struggle. So it does feel like if you could find a way to come together and beat Boston tonight, maybe you could tip the scales and start the momentum going in a different track and a different energy. It would be a big win if they could get it because, they've been struggling right now.
And I believe more than anything, they need one of those moments where they're doing WWE in that tunnel before a win streak.
Having some fun, getting more relaxed a little bit.
Here we go. Here's 4 games. All right, here we go. They need something like that to break that tension that is surrounding everything. Yeah. It's not just on Bucks Twitter anymore. It's with Giannis.
Right.
It's tough too when right here in the middle.
I'm just saying.
2 years, 2 hours in.
I'm just saying both teams can use it.
Talk you through how you should watch a college basketball season.
Yeah, we got to get back into that at some point.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
We're getting into that here at some point. Wow, you all right, man?
No, both teams can use it. We're struggling right now.
These are the dog days of the NBA season. You get past Christmas before the All-Star break, the dog days of the NBA season, and the Bucks have a big one here tonight, smack dab in the middle of it. We got a big hour number 3 headed your way right after this. John Kuhn, Billy Schmidt, Armin Sari, and it's 9 to noon on the game.
Just Blaze.
Oh, baby.
Killer. All the girls see them. Look at his kicks. Look at his car. All I say is, look, mommy, I'm no good. I'm so hood. Clap with your soldiers. Soldier, then leave after it's over. Killer. I'm not your companion. Boy, your man stand. You hit me when you want to get rammed in. I be scrambling with lots of mobsters. Shot for lobsters. Cops and robbers. Listen, every block is block. But she like the way I did about to peep that. Mayborn, Maury kicks, plus Chanel ski hat. She want the, so I give her the. Now she screaming out. Killer. She playing with herself. Can't dig it out. Lift her up. Maj, just a yo, get it out. Pick on up. They want the boy Montana with guns with bandanas. This is
Never, ever he saw anybody. Sam Shields is 5'11", and I got news for you, Troy. He didn't make the catch, so you don't have to talk about it. The catch didn't happen. All right, sorry.
Troy Aikman's calling a Cowboys game. You're going to tell me that he was biased?
I've never seen a guy make a catch.
No way.
That's
No way.
One of the seminal moments ever. I mean, one of the memories in this playoff, this great, grandiose Packer playoff history and series with the Cowboys. It's going to go down in history.
Do we see that one more, the Ice Bowl or the Mason Crosby kick with the Jared Cook catch coming up this weekend during the broadcast on Fox?
Boy, it's amazing because they have played each other. I believe it's 9 times, or is it 8?
This will be the 9th time. Yes, 8 times. Yep.
It's tied for the most out of any 2 teams in NFL history. And are there some great memories throughout these playoff battles here with the Packers and the Cowboys? A lot from the Lombardi era, some from the McCarthy era, and now you're setting a new era here, the Matt LaFleur era against the Dallas Cowboys down there in Texas. And it's funny that Mike McCarthy's still part of it. But what do we see more? Ice Bowl, Dez catch, Crosby kick? I'm saying Ice Bowl. I mean, this isn't even close.
Ice Bowl, definitely. Jason Garrett game also. I mean, on the other side might get some pub, right? Like, I mean, you start thinking about some other things on the Cowboys side in the 90s like that.
Yeah.
To be able to go over it. John, you brought it up yesterday because that was 9 years ago, right, Armin? 9 years ago today.
Yep.
The Dez caught it game. We talked about it yesterday, the anniversary of the game down in Arizona. And you talked about the feeling coming out of that game for the club in your locker room and the confidence rolling in. When I was doing the show with Leroy Butler, he used to always talk about after the 95 championship game as to that flight home. There was no doubt that they were going to be back in the championship game the next year because of how they had gone through the stepladder approach, and they felt that they were so close to being able to beat the Cowboys. And if they got them again, that they were going to be able to do it. Now they get them in the regular season and give up 7 field goals, I think, in that 96 season.
That was the Chris Bonial timeout. They ran it up to get him the record.
Yeah.
And Reggie got mad, and the Packers had a little bit of a struggle in that part of the year. That was it. But then they went on.
They end up beating the Rams the next week and kind of catapult themselves in. But it's like you see it for so many different teams that there are those turning points. You hope that it is for this group after that playoff experience. But a lot of times I feel like you learn so many more lessons as a young team in the playoff losses maybe than you do in the wins. Hopefully it's not that way necessarily this week.
Yeah, that's why we talked so much this week already about pressure. Packers have no pressure. The Cowboys have all the pressure. Mike McCarthy has all the pressure. Matt LaFleur, no pressure. There's still an experience aspect that plays its way into this thing. And that's why I say, hey, this Packers team, they have already won the season. They have already won the season of what they needed to accomplish this year. And now let's get greedy. Let's continue to fill it back up. If they get themselves a playoff victory, think about if the Packers go down to Dallas and they play a close game and it's down to the fourth quarter, or they win, expectations for next year's team will catapult internally as much as externally.
Yeah, very much.
Good point. We are now a team that, adding a few pieces in the draft or in free agency, most likely the draft over free agency, we will be in position to make a run, not just in the playoffs next year, but to a Super Bowl. That will be, if we go down there and get boat raced, because this team has far more experience than us, and a lot of guys who have been there and done that, granted not a Super Bowl, but been there and done that, then we might need to readjust and get back to the playoffs again and find a way to compete in one of these playoff games. So there is still some stuff that goes into this that will play into this Packer team as they exit this season and into next year. But as it pertains to this team right now, You never really know. So we're going to find out on Sunday. And what I'm excited to see is I'm excited to see young guys step up in a game against a team that's heavily favored at their place. Like this environment is going to be so outstanding. It's always a great time to go down there and play in Dallas, but with it being a playoff game, with it being McCarthy, with it being the Packers coming into town, man, I mean, you guys always talk about how the Packer fans felt about the Cowboys in the 90s.
Yes.
I was a Cowboys fan. I felt a certain way about the Packers in the 90s. I did not want to face them at Lambeau. So during the regular season, it was always, hey, we got to get this top seed. We got to get them down here. We got to play them down here because they'll be dangerous up there. That was before the Packers had ever lost at Lambeau Field before.
Correct.
So and even when the Packers came down to Dallas, you felt like we should win, but you never felt really good about it. So it was one of those things. So it goes both ways. Believe me, the Cowboy fans are down there thinking, man, we should take care of business, but this is Jordan Love, and he's playing at the top of the NFL right now.
Yeah, and it's funny when you think about the Packers Super Bowl run in 96. I think there are some fans, as magical as that season was and everything happened, and the Super Bowl trophy, the one thing that for some fans was missing was not getting Dallas in the NFC Championship game, getting a chance to play them and beat them at Lambeau, to vanquish them once and for all, to finally get them. There was a lot of we want Dallas. Now, me personally, I never cared about that. I felt like Dallas was our kryptonite.
Didn't necessarily need that.
No, I was perfectly fine with getting Carolina, winning that game, and celebrating against them. Do I think the Packers would have won? Yes, I'm confident that team would have won at home. But Dallas was the Packers' kryptonite back then. So for some fans, that's the one thing missing, but not me. But like you said, it is funny, John, how things have kind of switched. In the 90s, it went that way, Dallas. And since then, during the Rodgers era, the Packers had the Cowboys number in the playoffs. And now we're going to get the first chapter here in the Jordan Love era of Packers-Cowboys. It's very exciting. Packers are the underdogs. Let's see what can happen. I like to think that they're kind of in the back of their mind a little worried about maybe, hey, Jordan Love can steal this game from us.
NFL Network was doing a bit earlier today on Good Morning Football about the pressure kind of conversation that we were having yesterday. And they were using it more towards Dak in the big games that Dak necessarily has not won in his career. Remember, they lose a first-round playoff game against the Niners a couple of years ago in a difficult moment where the execution actually was the problem and then the slide down, don't get the last snap-off shot to the end zone. But, John, you said it there, and it's always one of my favorite parts. People hate on the America's team. People hate on the fact that, we talk so much about the Cowboys. When I talk to so many guys that played NFL football, there's only one team that year in and year out, time in and time out, was this guy's favorite team growing up. The Dallas Cowboys have been that for so many different guys that I've talked, like Leroy said it all the time. His favorite team growing on up. Aaron Jones talked about it on Tuesday. Now, granted, he lived down in Texas. His favorite team growing on up. Like, there is something, and you can only speak to it, that you see that star on the helmet. There are different waves of emotion that will come in.
And it's different, right? For a lot of us growing up, the Cowboys were always, they have their down years, but they always seem to have good long runs of being a good team. And when we were all watching football on television, it was the Dallas Cowboys, right? It was the Dallas Cowboys on nationally every other week. And, we'd get some Steelers stuff. We'd get some Eagles stuff, but it was Dallas Cowboys nearly every week. Their game would be on national television. Put that to the fact that I was a football junkie. I wanted to do nothing as a kid except for football. If I could get anything football, those little mini helmets. Do you remember the mini helmets?
Of course.
Do you know how obsessed I was with begging my parents for a quarter to put into the gumball machine to get out the mini helmet?
Yeah.
And then I'd have 17 Buccaneers and no Packers. And I'm like, I need to get a Packers. I need to complete this collection. And all these Buccaneers helmets can go kick rocks because I need another quarter.
There's so many Buccaneers. Yeah, the Buccaneers. There were other helmets I feel like I got all the time. Colts.
I was gonna say you probably got a lot of Colts and Ravens ones.
Colts and Buccaneers. They were the.
I remember those things.
It's like a Monopoly board, right? They were the green ones, but we're looking for Park Place, right? We're looking for Boardwalk.
Like the McDonald's Monopoly.
Yes, we need the big ones, and we can't ever get them.
Yeah.
Packers seemed to be a big one. Cowboys were big, but that's how I lived. I lived my life loving football. And if you were going to love football, what team do you want to watch but the team that's right there at the top, always on national television? That's why I became really a Packers fan and a diehard Packer fan.
Well, and I mean, maybe a little bit before your time. I mean, they had Captain America, Roger Staubach was
Absolutely.
their quarterback,
Roger,
right? Like, I mean, like
yeah.
that's another way of making it a little bit cleaner when some people are like, oh, I hate how many people are fans of the Dallas Cowboys. Guess what? They were kind of the ticket in town. 8 minutes. That was the total tally on the Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick press conference, which is already over. They were up there for 8 minutes.
Bill Belichick
in the final send-off.
I'm on to retirement.
The greatest franchise right now. In sports.
I'm on to the Raiders or the Chargers.
On to something else.
Or potentially the Cowboys.
I'm on to lunch.
Robert Kraft said it'll be difficult to see him in a cutoff hoodie on another sideline, except when he's playing our beloved Patriots. I wish him all the best.
You know, we're talking about
okay. Go ahead.
Talking about those mini helmets, though.
Yeah.
Do you know I was tasked to get a present for like a 7 or 8 year old boy recently, and it was, honey, you need to go out and you need to get him a gift. He loves football. He loves the Packers. I suggest you go to the Packers Pro Shop.
Not hard, right?
Yeah,
not a bad idea.
Walking around a Packers Pro Shop looking at stuff. I saw
you guys have fitting rooms.
Complete collection of those mini helmets.
Oh, and they sell them
for every team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Do they sell them or do they just have them on display, John?
So I got two. I got two sets.
That's awesome.
I got two sets, one for the kid and one for me, because I never got to complete that set as a kid. But I took that complete set and I brought it home. And Lindsay was like, "What are you doing?" I told you he was a Packers fan. I said, "Don't worry. He's a football fan.
He likes all the teams. Yeah.
If he likes football, these mini helmets are going to be the bee's knees. He's going to crash these things into each other. Yep. He's going to line up AFC, NFC. He's going to line up the divisions. He's going to line up who's playing every single week. And sure enough, he does.
Yep.
He does. I mean, these things, if you're a football fan, mini helmets were the bee's knees.
Absolutely. That's something you were really into. And then I guess if you're like Zay, but when he got older, he graduated to trying to get the full-size Rydell helmets, like the $700 ones.
The mini helmets were one. And then I also had like this weird
Zay
little
has a whole collection.
He does.
Yeah.
He loves those helmets, but yeah.
I can't buy on all those. I had the little pennants. Right.
Sure.
Like, so,
oh yeah, I remember those
the mini ones. Yeah. And then I used to stack them on up into like the standings of all the divisions. Really cool kid. Like you start thinking back, like, wow, I made sense. I had a lot of friends.
Well, John, now you got a whole set of helmets to play with.
That's awesome.
And you
Can we come over?
Yeah, I already gave those away too.
Damn.
I completed my set.
Electric.
I just
finger football.
I needed to complete my set, and then I gave it away. The cool thing about the mini helmets when you were a kid, though, is you used to have to put the decals on yourself.
Yes.
And that little stripe down the middle, you'd never quite get it right, and then you would rub your finger over top of the crease that was in the stripe. No, it's like
fat bubble right there in the middle.
Now I need an 8th Buccaneers because I can't get this decal right.
And you had one chance to get it because there's one sticker.
Yeah,
it's only one time.
And you couldn't take it. If you took it off and tried to put it back on, it wouldn't be the same. Would never work. So you had to get it right the first time. Oh, that's good stuff right there. Yeah.
The helmet decal is one of the best
now
parts.
Bill Belichick he's in retirement. He can do all that stuff, right?
Bill Belichick, Belichick has the mini football helmets. Like that football obsessed dude. He's got all of those in his office somewhere. He then also walked on in and said, haven't seen this many cameras since we signed Tebow. 24 years, and now we show some personality at the microphone.
That's fine. Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Coach. Finally, yeah.
It's about damn time.
We were looking for this from you for a long time.
I will say I'm a little disappointed that the Washington Commanders are not apparently going to pursue Belichick, because that just would have tied in so well together. Lombardi finishing his career in Washington.
Sure.
Belichick finishing his career in Washington. I would have told you 5 years ago, Belichick and Brady, neither would finish their NFL career in New England. What would you have said?
Well, we don't know about Belichick yet. He might not go coach somebody else. I think he would, but he might not.
Oh yeah, he said he's going to coach. He's definitely coaching.
15
wins away from the all-time record.
I guess you got to then.
What if he goes to Bama?
That wouldn't be NFL wins, but that would be interesting.
No, it wouldn't.
No,
can you imagine? I can't imagine him.
I don't see Bill Belichick as a stats guy. Does he need to coach in the NFL?
There's one program that I want him to take over in college football. There's only one. It would have to be the Naval Academy.
Oh, yeah.
He would have to be the coach at Navy. Like, that would just be the perfect send-off for his career. Go and coach at Navy and start running some triple option. Hey, man, we're going to continue. We're going to change up, man. We're going right back into old school football.
He seems like the kind of guy that might want to do something like that just to get his football nerd.
He loves ball, man.
Yeah, exactly. His football.
But he would open Navy up, man. He would get those midshipmen just running all kinds of stuff. It wouldn't be your normal Navy game played in 2 hours because all they do is run the football. They would start airing it out.
Unless he misses offenses like that, John, and wants to run some unique stuff that he can never run in the NFL.
Oh, that's a good point.
I don't know. Yeah.
Armin's buddy, Richard Sherman, just put this on out as many people are asking him what he thinks and where he should be going.
Did he backtrack on something again?
So Pete Carroll to the LA Chargers. Perfect match. Did you see that one? I think everybody's just destinedly put Harbaugh over there, but
that makes sense. Actually,
I could easily see him going back to LA and can't get me with those sanctions from way back in the day. I'm back, baby. I'm back in awesome. LA, and I challenge you to come after me now.
I forgot that would be a good tie in full circle. Also, Dan Lanning in Oregon posting a video.
Okay.
His first team meeting of 2024. Just wants to let everyone know he is not in Tuscaloosa.
Well, there you go.
He is staying at Oregon, and Alabama going to keep trying to spin those wheels. So if you bet Dan Lanning to be the next Alabama coach, you can rip that ticket up. Not happening.
Weren't there flights?
The man can't miss.
Sorry.
There were apparently.
Didn't we get flight tracker flights?
Well, he still might be there. Just because he said it now, Billy, you don't know what's going to come next week, right?
Well, no, but the flights were this morning. We were tracking flights
now
for next week.
But you're saying he could still coach. There's nothing saying he's still.
I don't know. They put out this hype video.
These things change. Gary Anderson said he was staying at Oregon State, and then he went to the Badgers. I remember that. So you never know what's going to happen. I'm just saying. All right,
I think it's done.
Should we get to this now?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The man can't miss.
Time now for Coons Can't Miss, presented by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Bet big, bet full.
You know how I feel about it. I still think it's Dabo going to Alabama, but that's just me.
Dabo's been quiet. Could be.
We'll see what kind of futures you get down there at Potawatomi Casino Hotel Sportsbook. You can go down there and pick the next head coach of the Patriots or the Crimson Tide, or you can just enjoy your time down there at the temporary sportsbook, the old Fire Pit Sports Bar and Grill, with 30 big screens, a full bar with food and beverage service, and plenty of seating. You can go down there and enjoy just about any single day, but you don't even have to go in necessarily to place a wager, to do an investment, because there's over 70 kiosks on the second and third level just off the Skywalk, one just on the other side of the metal detector, so you don't even have to make your way into the building if you don't want to. But I suggest you do. I suggest you go get some grub. I suggest you go down there and watch the games and partake with. You never know when you're going to see Armin or Billy down there.
You never know.
I mean, last
night.
Might
not want to see me.
And dates getting thrown out for a live show down there in the near future. More on that to come. Big time party with the Nooners down there. I see that in our future as well. All right. Yesterday, UConn -4.5 at Xavier. Felt great in the second half, Armin up 14 points.
Oh, yeah, you were loving that.
With about 8 minutes left in the second half of that game, up 14 points. And then, as they say, everybody makes a run. And Xavier started boop, 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 just dropping them. Wet, wet, wet. Stopping UConn. Brick, brick, brick. And all of a sudden, this thing was a 3-point game in under a minute. And I thought, man, I just took another one right square on the chin. But no, who was that stepped to the line and drained 2 free throws?
Yes, thanks to Tristan Newton with 5 seconds left. You're making 2 clutch free throws to give you the cover, John. It was 4.5. And he made 2 to make it a 5-point game.
I never imagined in my life sitting back watching a Big East matchup that did not include Marquette feverishly sweating out 2 free throws to secure a cover of -4.5. But that's what I did last night. And UConn got the victory for me. Won by 5, just enough, which ends what could potentially have started another losing streak, as we've been losing quite a bit here on Coons Can Miss.
Yeah, but John, it didn't. It's 104. Your record is now 104, 79-5. Got you back on the winning track. It doesn't matter how close you got it. You got the win. If it doesn't matter by 1/2 a point or by 100 points, it still counts as a win, and you got it. You're in the books with a win, trying to start another streak.
Speaking of -4.5, Armin, that's exactly the line for the Milwaukee Bucks here tonight as they take on the Boston Celtics at home. There's 2 lines, prop bets, that I'm specifically really enjoying here. That's Damian Lillard points, which are 24.5, I think. Where is it at here?
Okay.
24.5 over under Damian Lillard points. I like the over on that. I know he struggled. I know he hasn't been hitting a whole lot, but coming back, a little bit of a hiatus, the personal things that he needed to settle, gets those taken care of. And sometimes you can feel free as a bird. You can come out and just let all the weight off your shoulders on that one. I like over 24.5 there. I also like Brooke Lopez over 1.5 3-pointers in this game.
Well, I think both have a good chance of hitting. Brooks been hot and cold this year from 3, but when he hits, he usually hits. He'll probably take some. The thing about the Damian one is you're right. If he had that a couple game off, maybe the weight's off his shoulders, maybe whatever was going on with him, maybe he feels better. He knows he's going to have to show up tonight. It might be one of those games when he starts going on a run at some point.
What's Ken Palm say? What's Ken Palm say about this?
They only do college basketball. There's no NBA.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Billy, which one you like better? Dame over 24.5 or Brooke over 1.5 3-pointers?
I'd probably go Dame.
Okay.
I'm right behind the or right in front of the Damian Lillard jersey here in the studio. So I'd go Dame in his return.
Okay, I'm going to go Dame on this one. I think this is a perfect opportunity for Dame to come back, wipe away whatever it was that he had to go and take care of, handled his business, and now he gets to be free as a bird.
Well,
Shut up, Buck's Twitter.
Yeah, and I expect him to also try and be aggressive. Whether or not he hits a lot of threes tonight or whether he gets to the line, he's going to try and look to score. You got to think. So Damian Lillard over 24.5 is the bet. It's in, John, on Potawatomi Sports.
You got to imagine he's going to want to show out, especially if Drew Holiday's on as much as possible.
I think so. It's a big
Drew
game.
Holiday's return to Fiserv for him. Interesting one right there.
He's heard how he's been off the ball and not been aggressive enough. Maybe he's going to want to kind of take control more and say, all right, you know what, I'm still here, guys.
You know, Trey Crosby, who will start joining the show as soon as football season's done, and we kick out Matt Schneidman and kick in Trey Crosby.
It's a hell of a substitution for us. I like that.
Isn't it? It's like the perfect tag team.
Yep.
You're losing nothing there. You're gaining beeps on
I was going to say gaining clicks and beeps, but
you're gaining beeps. You might be losing a little bit of
snarkiness.
Yes, you might be losing a little bit of
attitude.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You're losing a little bit of that, but what you're gaining is beeps and high speed, high motor. He's a high motor guy.
Big energy, yeah.
And you're gaining some fandom.
Matt Schneidman's a little monotonous. He's a robot, so he speaks monotone. Trey Crosby, he gets fired up. He smashes that phone up against his cheek. Beep, 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 beep.
Although I think he's something about
like a remix.
Something about it at the end of last year. The beeps dropped dramatically. Did he fix that problem?
Might have just been going microphone.
We told him he had to silence his phone. I think the beeps were, in fact, him getting texts or emails or something because he does it at work. Hey,
he's working.
Trey Crosby actually has another job.
He does.
He has a big boy job, real job.
Esquire, yes. That's what they call it. No, that's what they call it.
That's what they call it? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a magazine.
No. Well, that is a magazine name. That's not what I'm not looking at that. Get your mind out of the gutter.
I figured out where Bill Belichick's going to coach next year.
Where?
At his alma mater, Wesleyan University.
That's a good one.
He's going to go full Jim Calhoun and go from the penthouse
to like D3
to D3. He's going to go back to his roots, coach Wesleyan. And you know what? We need him in D3.
Hey,
that's what we need. We need more great coaches in Division 3. Mike Budashevsky and company going to have themselves a little bit more competition as Bill Belichick stepping down in the Division 3 ranks. That's what I'm talking about.
Mike Sherman, after A&M, he went from Packers to, I think, Texans assistant to A&M head. Went to coach high school in Cape Cod.
Nice.
In Massachusetts, now sit regional.
Is West Virginia Wesleyan in the PSAC?
Or
the
let's check it out.
Well, there's like 97 different Wesleyans. This one is in Wesleyan University.
Oh, different Wesleyan.
Yeah, different university. This one is in Middletown, Connecticut. And it is in NESAC, New England Small Collegiate Athletic Conferences.
If you are
NESAC,
and if you are interested in West Virginia Wesleyan, John, they're in the NCAA Division II Mountain East Conference.
They did the whole, regional thing, and they mixed up all these conferences. Now I don't even know who's in the PSAC anymore. We got all kinds of colleges.
Yeah, they're ducking you guys is what's going on.
Yeah, they're running from the grind. Is what it sounds like.
I think that's what's going on here, John. They're ducking the PSAC.
Well, listen, wherever you want to go, wherever you want to travel to, whatever team you want to end up seeing, I got a thought that maybe you might be traveling to go see the Green Bay Packers, back to a place where many people were very excited to go to. Across the pond. I'll fill you in on that coming up on the other side. It's 9 to noon on the game.
Quit that. You a big cat. Where your chicks at? Where your whips at? Wherever you get so jig that. In the Ferrari or Jaguar, switching 4 lanes with the top down, screaming out money in the bank. Bubble hard in the double law, black with the window down, money in the bank. Nigga, I don't like it, if it don't blame on the hell with the crack, money in the bank. Down hard for my dog, turn it up, drop a little paper, baby, toss it up. Slacking on your pimpin', turn it up, see the money in the bag.
Flex the road, sign a check for your jigger style is love. X and
250 plus yarders in the final 2 minutes. That was 2016 divisional round as the Dallas Cowboys, the 1 seed that year, get ousted by the Green Bay Packers, not in overtime, in regulation. After a 3rd and 20 pickup.
That was one of the most exciting wins that still makes me happy of a season that didn't end in a championship. You know what I mean? Because you look differently on those, but that win was one of the most exhilarating moments. And Mason had hit that twice, right, John? You remember that twice.
If you think about that season, that was a Packers team that was starting a transition, and really they had no business going as far as they did in those playoffs. The defense was completely lacking players at that point in time, and the offense had just lost a number of different players. Jordy Nelson was obviously coming back from his ACL, one comeback player of the year that year, but he was banged up because he got hit in the Giants playoff
ribs game, right?
So there was a lot into that. I believe at one point in time, Packers were 4-6 before running that
around the table, yeah,
getting in at 10-6, winning the division at 10-6, and then going on that run in the playoffs. And that's what we're talking about, right? Like that 2016 team, it's not going to be remembered for winning a championship, but it's going to be remembered for doing something pretty damn great and getting much further than where they probably should have got. Aaron carried that team. A lot of people thought he should have been MVP that year versus Matt Ryan, but Matt Ryan being on a 14-2 team and having the statistics that he had, hard to say that was a bad choice. Just thought Aaron was more valuable in that because down the stretch, those 6 games, he was so just lights out.
That is the best comparison, I think, John, to when you brought up Josh Allen winning the MVP. That to me is Aaron Rodgers in 2016, right? Like the slide early in the season for the Bills, you could contribute most of it to Josh Allen's play or whatever. And Rodgers, I think for the first 10 games was kind of pedestrian, right? Like the numbers weren't spectacular. Then he 18 touchdowns, no picks, and it was one of the best runs of football I had ever seen somebody play. And that's where the quick hot heave at the end was just too much to hold off. Like you mentioned, the 14-2 team and Matt Ryan and company. That to me is like Josh Allen right now. Like at that point in time, you didn't want to see the Packers. I don't think you really want to see the Bills because of how good their quarterback is playing right now.
The only difference is, and he is playing great, he's still turning the ball over.
Right?
He
True.
still will turn the ball over. That's the difference between what he's doing now and what Aaron Rodgers did back then. And Josh Allen won't win the MVP this year, even though I think he's probably the most valuable player this year in the NFL. And quite frankly, he's going to play a home playoff game now. Getting that victory last week and getting to the 2 seed in the AFC, wow. Now they're going to host at least 2 playoff. If they continue to win, they'll host 2 playoff games before they have to go to Baltimore.
That was also, sorry, not to cut you off, Armin, but we talked just about the Packers of the 2016 season. That Cowboys organization had a hell of a 2016, right? Like that was Dak Prescott's rookie year. He comes in as a 4th round pick and ends up taking over for Romo in training camp and just kind of steals the job because they were so good. They were also running Ezekiel Elliott as much as humanly possible because for a good 3 years, he was one of the most unstoppable forces in the league when he first came on in. And that Cowboys offensive line with the young quarterback and skill position players at that time, they felt like a little bit of a juggernaut there in 16.
They kind of were on that
path. Offensive line was sick.
It really was.
That offensive line was something. And that's what the Cowboys were early on in Dak's career. It was run the football. And that's why there was so many years to go by before he did actually get the extension. Now, when you get the extension, you see how an offense morphs. It's morphed around Dak Prescott now. And what can he do? And it's really one of the cooler changes that I've seen in the NFL in a while, and a guy that almost, and I will compare it to one, kind of like Tom Brady. Doesn't have the championships. I'm not saying he's Tom Brady. I'm not saying Dak is going to be like Tom Brady, But if you look at Tom, he really managed games early on in his career. They ran the
Yeah.
ball a lot.
Of course.
He didn't have big statistics. And it wasn't until later in his career that they really built that team around Tom and had Tom throwing the ball all over the yard.
Yeah, now you guys come around. That's why, I've been saying that for a long time. He just was a game manager that got lucky a lot. All right. Just kidding.
Well, hey, game managing is an important aspect.
Of course. Your job is to win.
To giving yourself a chance.
Everybody looks at that as a slight, and Tom Brady is. I think Tom Brady, when we talk about greatest quarterbacks of all time, I think Tom Brady's the greatest game manager of all time, which is a very important thing when you're the quarterback.
Yeah.
When you touch the ball on every play.
Don't turn the ball over. Make sure the right guy gets it. Make sure you're in the right call, and make sure your guys have an opportunity to succeed when they get the ball in their hands. That's managing a game.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady's probably the best at that I've seen at the quarterback position, right up there. The other guy is Peyton Manning.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to leader. What Tom Brady was the leader. And we're hearing now of wide receivers saying, well, it was Bill's team, but we played for Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady motivated the team at those times. So leader. And then obviously I think thrower of the football right now is Aaron Rodgers. And, there's many different ways to compare all around quarterback, legs and arm. Maybe Lamar Jackson, maybe Patrick Mahomes. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways to write a quarterback.
I like the game managing style of just how important that is and imperative it is to success. We've been looking more at the splash plays from Jordan over the last, 10, 11 weeks. But John, not turning the ball over. And the last part of that you said, putting and throwing your skill position players into positions where they can be successful, where they can make the most out of every position. That's been kind of an understated part of this little run for Love.
And if you watch what happened after the Denver game, Jordan Love got to a point where I'm going to get through my progression. And even if I have to skip progression number 2 and 3 and get to the check down early, that's what he did in order to keep the sticks moving, keep them in an advantage situation with the sticks. And because he did that, it kind of slowed everything down around him. And then you get into this natural groove of a time clock. Here's the check down, a time clock. Here's my progression check down. Then you get into the spot where you can start zinging that thing. And that's where you've seen this takeoff go with Jordan Love. He was managing it. He was getting the check downs and he was working things. And then he started making some exceptional throws in on top of that. And that's why I think we aren't even close to what the ceiling could be for Jordan Love.
No. We talked also about for the guys that Jordan Love is going to be going up against coming up this week, a little bit dinged up in the secondary for the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, they've been without Diggs all season after his ACL, but former Defensive Player of the Year, Stephon Gilmore, took a big hit, left the game last week against Washington. He was did not participate yesterday with that shoulder injury. Now they had a couple of DNPs, but they were other veteran rest days. So it could be something to watch for the Packers pass catchers on the way on out. On the way on out, got to let you know that one name is synonymous with fantastic frozen pizza. It's Palermo's, made right here in Wisconsin for almost 60 years. From their new and improved flavors, rising crust pizzas, guilt-free primo thin pies, find them in your grocer's frozen food aisle. Palermo's. Flavor is our family's business. Coming right back, wrapping things up, and then we'll hand it off to Heller in about 20 minutes. It's 9 to noon on the game.
It's up in the morning, girl, and the DJ playing that song. Now what you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Can you bounce with me? Bounce with me. Yeah, bounce with me. Bounce with me.
One of my favorite parts of the day, right before our quick trip takeaways, is we get into such good conversation, then we realize that we had something that we wanted to talk about all day long. Now, I've been holding something else back for the last couple of hours that is going to be done within the next 25 minutes or so. But John Kuhn has been holding on to something.
Warned you about that taco dip. I warned you about
I didn't touch that taco dip, Armin. There's been a taco dip sitting in the break room since yesterday's potluck. I did not touch that.
Somebody text him and ask him if he still has that plunger readily available, because it might be another case of red hot plumber Scott. All right. Billy, we talked a lot in the first hour about all these great head coaches that were going and the way of the White Buffalo with their teams, and some mutually separating and some retiring. And now you got to wonder in the NFL, all these teams that jumped the gun on Black Monday and said, we're not letting go of our guy. DA, that's our guy. We finished strong in New Orleans. That's our guy going forward. You got out there in Chicago, Matt Eberflus. He's our guy. We're going to go with Eberflus. We're going to trash Lutzy. We're going to trash Getsy. Let him go. And then we're going to go with Eberflus. And now all of a sudden, just 4 days later, you're sitting back and you're looking at Pete Carroll. You're looking at Bill Belichick. You're looking at Mike Vrabel. You're looking at Jim Harbaugh. You got some big old names on this coaching market right now for all these teams. And who's playing chicken right now? Who's looking at this saying, did we mess this up? Did we make our decision too quickly here after the season? Can we have another all-org meeting and figure this thing out?
Can we make a couple of calls, just real under the radar?
Teams meeting, right, scheduled.
Get that Microsoft Surface. Everybody get your tablet. We got to have a meeting here. Quick.
Because you said it, and Matt said it too. We have never seen an NFL offseason with these highly regarded coaches all at the same time.
Yes.
Normally you get a couple coaches that are the hot names. Normally they haven't had a head coaching job yet, and there might be one, Sean Payton, one last year on the market as a guy that could be a big name to take over. The rest are all newbies that we feel good about because they've been coaches and defensive coordinators, highly successful. But never have you had four names like this of reputable,
and they're the ones
NFL
that you want.
Coaches.
Yes, the highly successful guys are the ones you want. Instead, John, the retread name always comes to the guys that have had coaching experience before at the head level, and they're like, didn't work before. Well, can't say that about these guys. It's only worked for these guys. It's always fascinating when there's 25% of the jobs available, but when there's this many qualified guys, and I wonder if there's some teams that take an L this weekend that say, wait, we're close. We could go get Pete Carroll for 3 years and see if he could push us over the top. We could go get Belichick, Harbaugh for 4 years. We know it's not going to be a long-term solution, but we could go and maximize this one. I also watched the Buffalo Bills. I mean, we've seen them close extremely well. Let's not forget how loud it was there about 4 weeks ago when we were talking about game planning.
I also think it's tempting for owners and GMs to get those names because no one's going to rip on you if they don't work out. No one's going to sit there and say you shouldn't have got Belichick. You're going to make your splash, and that's what people want. All right, I got to get this in, guys. When I played that Mason Crosby highlight, it made me forget my favorite version of that highlight, which was going viral after that game a lot back then. I don't know if you remember this. I had to play this before we got out. My favorite version. Do you remember when this was getting big, the Celine Dion?
I love when the Celine Dion was to every big moment.
And it was right around this time, and they did this one. And I'm telling you, I was already in my feelings after this game. I looked at my phone and thought I was just starting to fall.
I love when there's a hot song like that.
It was awesome, John. Yes, I did.
You could dub Celine Dion over any sports moment. But
this one was special because there was slow-mo shots. There was Aaron hugging Alex Van Pelt. There was Mason hugging everybody. I mean, it was so emotional. I remember that.
They dubbed this over top of Marquette's regular season championship last year. What would you have done?
I probably would have gotten emotional too.
Yeah.
But
what
you
if they put that over the
desensitized.
sunblock? Or the rip.
Yeah.
Drew Holiday lofts it up to Giannis as he slams it on down.
They did that one. The more you'd see it, the more desensitized you'd get to it. This must have been one of the first
so not
ones.
that great.
Yeah.
All right. We got to give a couple fact checks here for the Mariners on the text line. Just a couple things you need to throw out. Yes, Tristan Newton, who made the 2 free throws last night for UConn, that one Mike can't miss. He is, in fact, Aaron Jones's cousin. We talked about that before on the program. And to those saying it's a whiteout down in Dallas, please make sure you wear green, Packers. Well, yeah, we're gonna, because that's what every team does. They
always
wear their colors when they go to Dallas because they wear their white.
You gonna wear some? You gonna wear some green over there on the sidelines? Or are we gonna stay real professional and going all black for a few?
No, I if it's not cold outside, if it's not freezing cold, I like to get, Packers hooked me up with some stuff. Now I probably get hooked up with more gear now working the sidelines than I did as a player. So I always try and match what I'm wearing to what the players are wearing.
Well, you get gear.
I like
want to
that.
look a fish.
Let's go. Yes, you should.
Look a fish, baby.
By the way,
damn right you should.
Speaking of gear, Packers.com had a great article about the equipment staff and how they travel the games yesterday. Oh, that was awesome. I tweeted it out. Amazing work by Red Batty and that's an amazing article.
Talking about traveling, 3 teams that the Packers are supposed to travel to next year will host games in London. Bears, Vikings, and Jaguars. Could the Packers be going back to London? I know they don't like giving the Packer home games, but that would be fun.
Get your crumpets ready, John.
Could be fun. Sorry, they're not going to Brazil. I was looking for it. I was waiting for them to get the Brazil trip. Doesn't look like they're getting that one. But you just got your quick trip take home of the day. Need something for dinner tonight? Don't cook. You just had to use that snow thrower. You had to shovel. Go grab something. Always fresh, never frozen from Quick Trip.
Spaghetti,
you might even find
chicken Alfredo, potatoes, salad. He likes to stick to what he knows.
We didn't even take Armin to task about his lack of arguing with his wife. We'll do that coming up tomorrow, and we'll try to be better as a Football Friday converges. He is. He's getting way too soft in his old age.
Whipped.
You know what? I'm happy, so I don't care. Say what you want. All right.
I'm happy, so I don't care. Don't ask about how Marquette did. We'll talk to you tomorrow. We'll try to be better tomorrow. It's 9 to noon on the game.
And then you get worried. So that's it. My mother not